Nomad at night, starring the one and only Nomad.
Yo, No Maniacs. Welcome to the show. This is Nomad at Night. I am your host, Nomad, and tonight I could not wait to get into the show. Got a chance to watch the game a couple more times. Rewound it, look at different players, different plays, why certain things happen, listening to Ryan Poles and his statements when he was up in the press box, and just kind of paying attention to little things that I saw going on and different things I heard during the broadcast. But because, of course, we were watching the game without volume and I couldn't hear what was going on during the broadcast, but notice a few things. But we're going to talk about all that and plus a couple of stats that my guy Brian dug up and my guy Nick dug up. And I think are pretty interesting when we start talking about, can a team, get to the ultimate goal? And that is the Super Bowl. I don't want to heap too many expectations on this team, but I'm not the one for ceilings either. I'm not the one. I'm just not the guy. I'm not your podcaster. I'm not the kind of person who you look to say, hey, Nomad, keep it down. Nope, Nomad ain't keeping shit down. Nomad is not doing that. Nomad is going to believe until they prove to me that I shouldn't believe. And so as of now, we have a brand new team. And we have a brand new opportunity this year. Every year is another opportunity. I don't care what that team looks like. It's about the opportunity. It's about the moment. And can you get hot? Do you have the defense, number one? Do you have the running game, number two, to keep you close, to be able to challenge each and every game? It always comes down to, people. It always comes down to, when you're Tom Brady type people, there's 5 minutes and some change on the clock left, and they're behind. And they're behind 4 or 5 points. And next thing you know, let's just say they're behind 10 points. And Tom Brady, time after time, takes that ball and methodically marches it down the field. And next thing you know, he puts up 7. Now he's down. Now you're down 3. No, I take that back. That was the wrong reference. He took the lead by about 3-4 points. And so you got to do better than a field goal, right? And so now you give the ball back to the offense, and you're left with 46 seconds left. Do we have the kind of quarterback that can make the right plays in those moments? Because you got the kind of quarterbacks in the league that are going to challenge you in that way. You got the kind of teams in the league that will challenge you that way. I know we have the defense. I know we'll have the running game. Do we have the quarterback that can do everything he needs to do and just avoid mistakes when it comes down to it? And that's the question. I'm starting to feel like we'll have that quarterback at some point during the season. We'll have that quarterback at some point in the season. I don't know if we have him exactly right here, right now, but we've got the markings of one. And so now it all comes down to, what do you do in the key moments? Do you make plays or do you make mistakes? And so to me, I think that's where the conversation is in my head. I don't know where you guys are, but I feel like we have the ingredients to make noise in whatever stadium we're playing in, whether it's the Bears stadium, whether it's wherever. I think we can make noise in anybody's stadium. I think we've got the ingredients to do that. I think this thumbnail that was made reflects that. I do think there's a storm coming. It's going to come to the NFC North first, but the rest of the league better take notice, man, because this – number one, this defense is legit. It's got depth. You know what I mean? Especially in the key areas. I think we're, let's just say this. I think we're an interior player and maybe an edge rusher. Maybe, and we'll talk about that tonight. I think we're an interior player, maybe an edge rusher away from having a complete defense. And so I think our running game is fine. I think we'll be just fine in that department. But I do think we have what we need on defense. We're going to talk about a particular stat line by some Super Bowl winning quarterbacks here in just a minute. But first, let me pass it on to my guy, the Canuck, who just popped up on us, man. Glad to see you, my guy, man. Tell him what's up, man. Glad to see
you. Hey, No Maniacs. It's Sunday after a hard-fought Saturday preseason game win by the Chicago Bears. Hopefully, all of you guys are as stoked as I am. To be frank, I'm nowhere near as stoked as this guy over here. That's for sure. He's super stoked. So we'll get into exactly how stoked he is. He did open it up with that stokedness. You're going to live with it for the next 2 hours, I'm sure. So we'll see what it's all about.
You got to shout Plank out. He gifted us a membership.
Sorry, who? Plank?
Yeah, if you could pull that back up, Nick. He gifted us a membership. He's already a member, and he gifted us one. Shout out to my guy, Plank.
I didn't even know you could do that, Plank.
Yeah, man. I got to get back with him, man. He got a shirt that didn't. He got a medium shirt that wasn't his size, and I got to figure out how to get him reimbursed so we can get him the right size shirt. But I promise, man, we'll get to the bottom of that tomorrow. Plank, you got my word on that. But go ahead, kids. I had to mention it.
Word up. Well, speaking of Plank, what it do to you, sir? Give a little love to you guys who are out there following the show and chiming in right around now. Rex Smith. Oh, man. No love to Don Bird. Just came just in time for shout-outs. No love to you, sir. Ralph Love is in the building. Patty Laura. Hey, Patty. Raj Nash. Hey, Raj Nash. Thanks for keeping it real and holding it down. Mr. Mayhem's with us today. The Naj OG. No Maniac. The Naj is with us. Smitty Q. Lula Shah. I'll always pronounce it a la Francais, Lula Shah. Me and Nomad can argue about it later on. Smitty Q. Ant Moss. James Hunter. Who else is out there? AC Adams down with us today. Juju's representing. Man, we got a pretty packed house today, man. I love it. Black Diamond is in the building. Bearski Film is in the building in the flesh. Cornelius Squalls, number 2, No Maniac. Who else we got out there? I'm sure Junior's floating around. What it do, Junior? If I ain't seen you so far. Oh, Oliver Chapman's out there with us. Man, and Jakiu off the hub. I know I'm butchering it, but I tried.
Off the dub.
There you go. See, he did it. I didn't do it. And D Burns. Yo, hey man. We're gonna throw it over to my guy. We'll go Country Santa and then Paul Ski. Hey, Country Santa, what's cracking?
Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome, No Maniacs. Another Sunday night. Always glad to talk Bears football with you, and always happy to see you guys. Should be an interesting show. Mr. Polsky, take it away.
Yeah, hello everybody, and thank you guys so much for having me on. I always love tuning in to Nomad at night whenever I get a chance to. So for you guys to just send me a link and bring me on is always an opportunity that I'm grateful for. So yeah, thank you so much. And man, it's been a busy week, at least for me. You know, I love it. I'm getting back in the scheme of things. It's preseason for me too, guys. So like I'm out there, I'm putting together my press conference videos where I have the press conferences with highlights underneath them. It's the best way to watch press conferences. I actually just listen to like the first 20 seconds of it to kind of get the audio right a little bit, make sure I can hear the questions being asked, and then I put video under it. And it's the first time I watch a press conference is with the highlights underneath it myself. It's how I prefer to watch them. So been doing all that, been making some highlight videos. Man, that was fun. It was nice seeing some good Bears football from our starters.
Great.
Yeah, man. Listen, man. Good to have you on, Paul, man. Bearski, I can't help but to call you that.
Yeah, you're good, man.
I can't help but to call you that. I know your name's Paul, but I see Bearski. I got to say Bearski.
Bearski works.
Thanks for coming on, man. In case you guys don't know, Bearski has been busy putting out a lot of highlights videos, man. He's trying to get himself established out here, and he's doing a good job doing that. Love his stuff, man. And you just keep hitting them. Just keep hitting them. You just got to be consistent, just like anything else, man. I guarantee you it's going to come, and it's going to come in droves too. When it does, you'll hit it.
Nomad, you know what's kind of crazy? The most successful video I had as far as views went from last year was a preseason video, and it was the Tyson Bagent highlight video. That one got like 40,000 views. And it's weird because no other video throughout the season kind of matched that. I just found that to be really interesting. So, there's a lot of hype right now is what I'm trying to say, though. Preseason, everybody's getting ready for it. Everybody's thirsty. Everybody wants it. You know what I mean? So, yeah, we're right around the corner.
It was all Mark Kerman.
Yeah, right, for sure.
You want to hear something real? You want to hear something real, Bearski? It's all timing. It's when you do something. You can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't hit that right time and stroke and hit that vein at the right time, then you might do some good work and it just doesn't have the same appeal to it. But if you hit that thing at the right time, perfect.
Nomad, you're preaching it, because the day after I released that video, there's a podcast out there called the Savan Podcast. And this is a guy that deals with like workout stuff and health and fitness. And I guess he knows Tyson Bagent's dad through the CrossFit stuff and whatever. So he had Tyson Bagent on as his guest. And he was asking him questions about the game with a Bearski film highlight video playing right there. So that was kind of cool. You know what I mean? I got a couple texts from some people like, hey, you know, your videos made it on this, giant podcast, and that Tyson Bagent was watching it and this and that. So that was kind of a surreal moment for me last year too.
Well, congrats.
Yeah, it was fun.
Congratulations
cool.
to you for that. That sounds cool as hell, man. Just keep cracking, man. Just remember timing. You will have those videos like that. It's just about the stroke, man. You hit that vein, the right time, you'll have it. And so I just want to continue the conversation we were just having, man. Thank you guys again for being here. I want to continue the same conversation we were having in my intro. And why do I want to keep saying what I'm saying? It's because Nick and the dude and Brian pulled up some stats, and I found them to be very interesting. When we start talking about Super Bowl winning teams, I don't know that people pay very close attention to some of the minute details of different players' stats. So quarterbacks, right? So when you start talking about quarterbacks, I think everybody thinks you have to have this, and Caleb Williams is going to be an awesome quarterback. He's already starting to show glimmers of that. We felt like he would be, you know what I mean? But he's definitely starting to show the earmarks that he could be a really, really good one. And so what I wanted to say is, even though he's a rookie quarterback, this is why I want to tell the fans that think that they have to temper their expectations, that maybe you shouldn't. And I'm gonna give you a particular, not me, but Brian's gonna give you a particular stat line of a particular player or quarterback who won a Super Bowl and what his year-long stat line was. And so Brian, take it away and talk about the Super Bowl winning quarterback. What's his name and what was his stats?
Okay, this is Brad Johnson, and 2001, he was with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they won a Super Bowl. He was in 16 games, started 16 games. His completion percentage was 60.8. He threw for 3,406 yards and this is for the year now, guys, 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and his quarterback rating was 77.7.
Just run that by me one more time, just so the hearing impaired might not have heard that all the way through.
He started all 16 games. He had 559 attempts with 340 completions, which came out to 60.8. That was his completion rating. He threw for 3,406 yards with 13 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and his quarterback rating was 77.7.
Okay. And I'm responding to Laz. Yes, that's me, Laz. I'll just tell you this, Laz. You got every right to feel how you want to feel about that whole thing that was going on between who should we keep, Caleb, Justin, all that. As long as he had a locker room at Hallis Hall, I was going to ride. And that's just the way it is. I don't care until he's gone. I was going to ride for him. People had their own opinions. That was mine. And so if he's at Hallis Hall and he's got a locker in there, I don't give a damn who it is. I'll ride for him. And so I'll just leave that there. And the dude, if you can jump onto the podcast real quick and tell me about a stat that you found, that would be perfect, man.
Absolutely. How we doing, gentlemen?
Yeah, all right, dude. What's going on? What do you got?
I just want to talk about Mr. Trent Dilford real quick. So, this guy played 11 games, started in 8 of them, and out of 226 passes he attempted, he made 134 of them for a fantastic 1,502 yards with 12 touchdowns and 11 interceptions.
76.6 passer rating. Is that right?
Yep.
So, Nick, basically what you're saying is my guy just totally mopped the floor up with your guy, and my guy sucked.
So
Well,
let me
I'm confused with why we're looking at these two guys at all. Why are we looking at these?
let me round it up. Let me round it off because
Perfect.
Oh yeah, I got comments on this too for sure.
what I'm getting at is, in my lifetime, I've seen, different types of Super Bowl winners. I've seen different types of styles of winning. You know what I mean? And it does get down to, at the end of the day, we were just talking about this right before we came on air. It's about teams that get hot before, during the playoffs and have a nice run. And, and there's all kinds of teams. You can have a team that barely squeaked into the playoffs with an 8-8 record, 9-8, whatever. You'll have those kinds of teams. It's about what team gets hot. You can have a hot team with a not so good defense and a not so good running game that will get trounced by a team that has that. And so what I'm trying to get at is the fact that we have a rookie quarterback. The fact that we have a rookie quarterback should be no inhibitor of where you think this team can go. I'll double that conversation and add to that conversation based on this. Ryan Poles will tell you, based on the things that he does, whether or not he thinks this team is a team that can win and win now. And number one, I said this in the post-game show, and I said it also during the play-by-play. You don't go after and get into a 32-year-old pass rusher sweepstakes unless you can win right now, who's got an expiring contract. Anybody that disagrees with that, I'm willing to listen to your argument. Prove me wrong. But you don't do that. You don't even engage in those conversations unless you think you can win right now. Period. Point blank. Go ahead, Paul. I see it.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting. I love studying the history of the NFL. And so, real quick, with the Trent Dilfer thing, it's crazy because the Ravens were, I believe, the only team to win a Super Bowl to move on from their quarterback in the offseason. And then they shuffled around. They went through the quarterback carousel until they found Joe Flacco. Mm-hmm. And when Joe Flacco pushed his chips all in, didn't sign a contract at the beginning of the year, and wound up making the playoffs and playing very clutch in the playoffs and winning a Super Bowl, everybody knew he wasn't worth $100 million or whatever that they paid him. Mm-hmm. But their hands were tied. They can't be the only team to move on from a quarterback twice after winning Super Bowl. You know what I mean? Like it was just the situationally, they just had to do it. So I always found that very interesting. Another thing is, Nomad, you said it. This is football, right? It's the ultimate team game. Like it's not like basketball where one player's one of 5 out there doing it. No, this is the game that takes a lot to go right for you to win the Super Bowl. I always love quoting Tom Waddle from ESPN. He said, you need 3 things. You need good talent, right? He said, you need to stay healthy and you need to get lucky.
Yes.
Yep.
Like you still need to get lucky at the end of the day. And so I think when we talk about success and we talk about ways of approaching it and building a team and things like that, I think we have to define whether we're talking about success for 1 year or consistent repeated success, because success for 1 year is worth it. You look at what the Rams did. They pushed their chips all in on so many trades and really handicapped themselves, but they got it. They got that one. And as long as they got it, it's all worth it. Right. And so I think if you're going to do that, you could do it in many different ways. I always like to look back at the 2010 Chargers. The 2010 Chargers had the number 1 offense, the number 1 defense, and they went 9-7 because they had the 32nd special teams in the league. This is a balanced game, even down to special teams. Like you could be number 1 offense, number 1 defense, still went almost 500, right? And so I think, anything is possible, right? So like with a rookie quarterback, we've seen it before, right? Kurt Warner is a great example. I mean, he was an older quarterback, but still, it was his first time to shine. You know, even Andrew Luck, when he took over the Colts, he made the playoffs. There's been success in the league from rookie quarterbacks. Has there been a rookie quarterback to win the Super Bowl, though? I'm not sure.
No.
No. So that would be a new thing.
Interesting, right?
That is where things get interesting then.
I think, man, Nomad, you're crazy. You went to the ends of the earth to prove this point, and I think this is actually a very well plotted point, bro. I'm actually going to give you that this time, as opposed to completely opposing it. Yeah. My problem with your point is just that the speculation is on maybe this quarterback isn't any good, and do the Bears have a team that can do it without a quarterback like the Trent Dilfers of the world? I think the quarterback's really flipping good, guys. Guys, I think he's really good. I just need a little bit. I need a couple more weeks. That's where I'm at. I need a couple more weeks to say that the quarterback is also really good. The other stuff you're talking about is legit and valid. Yeah, this defense is dirty. They're disgusting. All you need is that left side. And we're starting to see a couple of guys who can win their one-on-ones on that left side, right? Booker looks fantastic. On second watch, Dom Robb wasn't as you know, he wasn't as awesome as I thought, but he's showing motor now, and that's the thing that was missing for me before. You know, he would get stood up at the corner trying to take that edge, and he would stop. You know, now he's continuing to go to find another route of passage to get to the quarterback, and that's admirable. You know, somebody on the other side is really all that we need to make what you're saying a thing, because guess what? If the quarterback is actually for real, you don't forget the Trent Dilfers of the world. You know what I'm saying? Bears fan, like, this is I'm saying it's a worldwide Bears fan shit here right now.
And here's one other thing too, kids.
Yeah.
So based on the most recent Super Bowl winners in the last 10 years, 2 of them are the quote unquote greatest quarterbacks of all time, if you will. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady. And then the other one you got is Nick Foles and Joe Flacco. Yeah. So basically,
right. And Russell
you
Wilson,
need either a unicorn quarterback
Stafford,
or you need a really good defense. That's really it's quite simple. Like Nick Foles 7 years ago, not even ever won the Super Bowl, and he only played 5 games, threw like 500 total yards in the season, got hot in the playoffs. Quite simple.
Last year there was only 5 quarterbacks that had a Super Bowl ring. 5 or 6, I believe. He named them.
I didn't include Matt Stafford too. My bad.
Yeah, right. So it's like you said. It's Patrick Mahomes. It's Matt Stafford has one. I'm blanking right now. Rodgers, Russell Wilson. The guy we had. What's his name? Nick Foles. Is there a 6th? I don't think so.
I don't know. Well, I just want to say this, man. And I wouldn't come.
It was Brady before Brady retired.
Okay. I wouldn't come here and BS these people that support our community. I wouldn't. You know, people know, listening to me they've been listening to us long enough. They know us from people that's really knowledgeable about football on this podcast. And I don't come here with the energy of I feel like I need to, you know, shuck and jive for the people that's watching in this community and this podcast. I'll tell you the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts to hear. I'm telling you the truth. There are teams, and I've seen this year in and year out. I've been watching this stuff all my life. And the really good teams that have, you know, that's just there all the time. Like, we're talking about the Buccaneers. We're talking about the Ravens. You know what it is with those 2 teams. They had dominating defenses that took the ball away and absolutely controlled games. They had dominating running games that absolutely took over. It's all about time. Ball control. How many opportunities you get, how many bites at the apple do you get? when you have a dominant defense that can give you multiple bites at the apple, and all you have to have at that point, all you have to have is a sufficient quarterback. It doesn't, even though we feel like we may have a great one, all he has to do is be sufficient and don't give the damn game.
You're 100 billion% correct. Fact is, as Bears fans, we've seen this formula play out a bunch of times in our favor and to a loss. We've seen it. This can continue. We have the defense, I think. I think we do. That secondary is disgusting. And like I'm telling you, we just need one little piece on that line to make it ferocious. So if we look at the other side of the fence, that offense looks good on paper. And what we're starting to see is the quarterback step into what he's going to become. He's showing flashes of it. He's showing what he might be. And, everybody, I'm laughing here because you're kind of tempering expectations and saying, the defense is so good that we don't need the quarterback to be Superman. And that was the hopes across the board. But the quarterback might be Superman. So let's just give him let's give him a couple more weeks. I just need a couple more weeks of incremental growth from him.
He's getting an easy out though, kids. To your point, an easy out is we're 60-40 running the ball, throwing it.
Yeah.
60-40.
Yeah. That's how you work through. That's how you work through the first 7 games of this season. Really, that's how you work them through. Just let him get his feeling, get accustomed to this game, get his bearings. Because what I saw these last couple of weeks is a guy who understands the game. He's playing the game to win, right? He's looking for the pass. He's looking for the completion. Didn't even want to go. He didn't even want to run the ball in. I'm seeing some special stuff that I've never that I'm not going to say I've never seen before. Like I've seen in other places, I've seen with other quarterbacks, and it's always intrigued me because we just didn't quite have it here for one reason or the next. Things like, attempting a pass or throwing the ball away when you're running out of bounds. Things like that. Curling it back to a receiver in the back end of wow. Things like that. Or the other pass, let's not even just talk about how disgusting that pass was to attempt, let alone complete. He might be really good, guys. But
so kids, look at what I'm about to tell you, man. It is like I said, man. I pick up things, man, little things, and I just keep them in my wallet, man. I don't even carry a wallet. I keep them somewhere, and I don't carry a wallet, man. I'm from Chicago area. You get your ass pickpocketed around here. But listen, I pick up little things, and these things ring in my ear all the time when I'm talking to you guys on these podcasts. These are the things that ring in my ear, and I'm constantly seeing on Twitter, sometimes in our podcast, and I don't ever tell nobody how to fan. You fan how the hell you want to fan. I'm breathing you what I believe is the best optimism I can give you. And that is, I just listen to the details of the people running that operation, the people that are in control of the ship. And you hear, you look at that 1920, I think it was the last 1920, when you heard Flu stand in front of that group of players, and it was in front of the entire team. He told them, we have everything we need in this building right now to win it. Mm-hmm. He's telling his team that, and they panned off into the audience, and his team believed it. They're starting to perform like they believe it. Why are we outside on the fringes? I'm worried, chewing fingernails, man. They believe it. Why shouldn't we?
And I told you that word, Nomad. I told you on Twitter, PTSD. That's what it is.
That's I don't suffer from that. I've been a Bears fan as long as anybody else. Maybe I'm lucky that way. I just have a different way of thinking. And then layer on top of that the moves. Because Adam Amin, this is what I learned after the fact. After we got off the podcast. Let me finish this, kid. After I got off the podcast, I went back and looked at the whole game broadcast. And Adam Amin was he put Poles on the spot. Poles couldn't really. I bet he would have loved to have dodged that question of the fact that he was even in the Matthew Judon sweepstakes. I bet he would have loved to dodge that question. But the fact was, Adam Amin put him on the spot, and they missed on getting 32-year-old Matthew Judon on an expired contract. Think about that. You're only going to get him at best for one season. At best for one season. If you're lucky, you might have got him an extension in the offseason at best. But he's 32 years old. Why would you make a move like that? Why would you be trying to make a move like that if you didn't think you could win? That's number one. And the second thing I found notable out of that conversation is the conversation kids was just having about thinking like maybe we do need that other player on the other side. Poles apparently thought that we did and went after Judon. But he gave effusive praise to Dominique Robinson, who was starting to turn a corner. He pointed out also Austin Booker. But the biggest I think the biggest praise that I could have heard him say was towards Daniel Hardy. And I'm going to just really quick, man, because I know you want to say something, but I want to throw this out there. We're talking about Daniel Hardy. I've been saying all off season, it was this hybrid defense that Eric Washington was going to bring. And in order to play a hybrid front, and hybrid front is playing a variety of four down guys and three down guys. But you have to have the pieces to do it. You need a fastball, two or three fastballs, and that means some hybrid edge rushers. And so I think they have two, possibly three of those right now. I think they're going to make this team, and that is Daniel Hardy, Austin Booker, and I think Dominique Robinson is a possible in that category in order to be playing those kinds of defense. Those are fastballs. And so I just wanted to throw that out there before you guys get a chance to speak. I'm telling you, you guys are pessimistic about this team for the wrong reasons.
Mr. Brian, I feel like I'm stepping in front of you. Can I just say one thing and then
Go
I'll definitely
go for it.
Okay, so because there's so much there, Nomad. There's so much that I want to comment on. So first of all, you were talking about the way teams are built. Well, from my look at history, when you're talking about defensive-based teams, those teams tend to spike up and down. I mean, we saw it with the 2006 Bears, right? You mentioned the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you mentioned the Ravens, but there's nothing there after that until they spike again. And so it could win it all for you. It can, but it's not consistent. The consistency comes from offensive-based teams. Teams that are led by good quarterbacks tend to make the playoffs year after year after year. I'm not saying they necessarily have success in the playoffs, but they will make the dance year after year after year after year. They'll give themselves more opportunities. However, here's the trick. These quarterbacks cost a lot of money, right? So for you to have an offensive-based team that to be led by a good quarterback, you need to invest that money there. The biggest example we have is like Russell Wilson. So as soon as they got him, they ate that $40 million they paid to Matt Flynn. They said, we'll start with this third-round rookie, and we'll spend all the money on defense. And for those first 4 or 5 years, they had that good defense. And when it came time to pay Russell Wilson, you never saw them win another Super Bowl again. He just wasn't good enough to sit there and take on that full offensive load on his shoulders and have success. We pay these guys like they're Peyton Manning. No one's been Peyton Manning since Peyton Manning. Now, I saw Doolittle's comment, too, saying that, like, game managers have only – Tom Brady was a game manager. Tom Brady was a great balanced quarterback, and I used to say this all the time. Like,
too, Paul.
Well, he was very good all around because he also took less money, Nomad. So he understood he understood the balance.
They wouldn't have without Bill Belichick or orchestrating
all of
that
it.
Defense. They don't even sniff that shit.
All of it, though. It was all of it. It was a good, solid, consistent quarterback. It was a good all-around team, well-rounded that could have. They would switch up their defense and offensive schemes week to week. They could run a 5-2 if they wanted, if they felt that that's what was going to work best. They had their fourth-string running back. And if it was going to be a shitty weather game, guess what? That guy's going to get 3 touchdowns this game. They played week to week based off the opponent's weaknesses, and they were very versatile and very flexible. And that's what gave us the blueprint for the most success.
Okay.
They won the most.
Start an argument, Paul.
So real quick.
Right,
what I'm getting at is if we truly believe Williams is all that, then we have a small time frame. We're kind of looking at like the Russell Wilson blueprint here, where like you have time, you have the next 3-4 years to spend money on this defense. Before you need to shift that money over towards the offense more and put it on the kid's shoulders once time gets there if he demands max money. hopefully, in my opinion, if he wants to chase the Tom Brady thing, he'll be a little bit more aware of that whole financial aspect of the game and maybe work with Ryan Poles to sit there and keep more of a balanced team. But right now, I think a move like Matt Judon, I mean, you got 2 seconds next year. We offered a third. They thought Atlanta's third was going to be higher. That's why they took Atlanta's. But like we offered the same thing Atlanta did. We're ready to pay him too, right? And so you still got an extra second from that trade you made with DJ Moore. That could have technically paid for Judon. You know what I mean? So,
well, I just this is the argument that I wanted to make, and it's a very
before you do, Brian. Do you have any comments on any of this? Because I wanted to jump in there.
Stir the pot here.
I'm trying to get something going on, man. It's gonna feed into what you guys want to talk about.
I was just trying to get Brian
go ahead.
Brian's gonna have to goddamn wait because I'm gonna be a bully right now because I want to get into this argument, man.
All right.
Listen, I want to ask a simple question to everybody on this panel, and I mean everybody, and everybody in the chat. Give me your honest opinion. Without Belichick and those great defenses that he orchestrated, do you think Tom Brady would have won those Super Bowls?
He would have won at least one.
What do you?
At least one.
Absolutely, he's winning a few.
You're asking
One to two.
I thought we were talking about the Bears here. Long story short, if we're talking about the New England Patriots, I learned a long time ago never to count out Tom Brady. I'm not going to do it tonight.
Who went to the Super Bowl after the split?
That's what I'm trying to say. He went to the Super Bowl. He went to the Super Bowl after he proved his theory.
Do you guys? What are y'all pissing on?
But that's why I said, are we talking about 1 year success or consistent success? Those are two different things.
Why do you think he went to Tampa?
I'm so great. Okay, so you know what? So great, and this is the part of it that I actually wanted to jump in on. The Paulie, you laid it down so nicely, and you missed one word, and I was waiting for it. And
let me hear it.
Around it, and the word is balance. That's why the New England Patriots were a dynasty. Balance. They had the offense. They had a situation where the quarterback technically wasn't a superstar until he continued to win Super Bowls and decided to take a pay cut because, we're winning. You can pay everybody. We've got a stellar defense. We've got a defensive mind. We've got an offensive mind. We have
kickers.
We have premier kickers. We have special teams locked down. It was balance on every level. Right now, like what we're used to and what you laid out today, Nomad, was defense heavy. The investment is on the defense. And what you laid out, Paulie, was an example of how you can start to get towards balance, except at some point you have to pay the quarterback.
I hope he doesn't want to take back money. I hope he doesn't.
Unless he's a rookie, which is where we are, right? Which is where we are. We're in a trajectory where basically we have 4 years where this team, this assembly of this team can be super dangerous, and they can refresh at those positions where the major investment has been. Like, this is why Ryan Poles is investing where in the positions that he has been. So yeah, we can draft another edge rusher next year in the top 10 and not worry about paying Montez Sweat 4 years from now after we've won 3 Super Bowls. We'll bring a new guy in because we'll be in his position to then draft another guy, and this guy will have elevated this top 10 guy. Oh yeah, we just drafted Rome Odunze. We can let a Keenan Allen slide off into the distance, get somebody who's a little bit cheaper, and we've already paid for DJ Moore for the next 6 years.
That DJ Moore contract is the biggest step towards balance. I loved it.
It's basically like that contract is. It basically says over the next 6 years, we are planning to build a dynasty, and he's seeing it work. I just need to see, like, all we need is the chef's kiss here, guys, and it's always been the problem. Traditionally, the problem is understanding.
I believe I've got to do this, man, because my spirits have lifted me, and they are riled up, simmered, and about to bubble over. So I got to do this, fellas.
You do not want to open this can, because inside it's something that isn't cool and or refreshing. This is Nomad's can of whoop ass. Oh, fuck.
Damn.
I'm gonna chug the shit out of that thing right now.
Let me tell you guys something.
Just
Let
got
me
that
tell
down.
you guys. I got
my own drink of time.
I gotta rewind you guys back and shout out to my guy Aldo for making that for me, man. That's my dude, man. He gave it to me. He said, "You use it, Nomad. Made it for the bar room, but you use it on your podcast. You do your damn thing with it." My guy, my big brother Aldo, man, for looking out for me. Let me tell you guys something. At the end of the day, football in a traditional way. I don't care how dynamic you want to look at it. It is all about defense first. What was the first moves? And I'll back off of my whoop ass for a second, just to ask you guys this one question. What were the first two moves that they did with their draft picks? Ryan Poles when he got here. What were the first
you
things?
mean Gordon and Brisker?
Dexter.
So
Yeah,
you don't.
Oh yeah,
so
Gordon Brisker, Dexter Brisker.
They didn't go after another damn quarterback.
You had Justin Fields here though.
What they felt like was this is how you build dynasties. You get the cornerstones and start of your defense and start building that out. And let that be your framework and your baseline for what you do. This is Chicago. We play a certain brand of football, Chicago style football, and we play hella hair on fire defense first, and everything else fits into place. All this other stuff.
It's nice to have a little bit of luck too, like 2 number 1 picks back to back.
All this other stuff is just, it's nice to have these other things. We have looks like a potential great quarterback on our hands. But I'm telling you, the baseline for consistent winning and consistent opportunities at getting Lombardis starts with a great defense.
So
go ahead.
Start.
I'm not. There's really no. You're preaching to the choir, bro. You know what I mean? You're getting all riled up and serving cans of whoop ass. I'm just like right now. We're well aware that like that's what 85 is. That's 85, bro. Right? The 85 team didn't have a prayer on offense outside of Walter Payton. It was just a prayer. Maybe something might happen.
That offensive line was pretty.
Oh no, the line was disgusting too. They put them in place to allow for Walter Payton to do what he does best.
Man had the ability to have everybody just rally behind him, run through a brick wall too.
He was a leader. I give Jim McMahon the love that I give him, but at the same time, he was no Patrick Mahomes. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's a far cry.
No, but he was
the wide receiver core on that team, not stellar, mind you. Willie Gault, much like Velus Jones, right? Like, that's what we're known for. We're known for defense, and that's what we'll continue to be known for. Ryan Poles had a luxury situation that he walked into that allowed him to focus on the defense first. And that's what you're sort of glossing over. Justin Fields, I hate to bring his name up today, but
no, you don't.
I do. He was the key that allowed Ryan Poles to say, you know what? I'm going to focus on the defense with these picks. Hopefully, Justin can show me something over the course of the next few years. He didn't.
Opportunity, right?
But I'm putting my investment where I know I'm gonna these are the building blocks of this defense. This is Jaquan Brisker. He's the building block of this secondary, and we need to have a stellar nickel. And they don't get much better than Kyler, man. Let's get these two guys on this team and build around them. And that's what he's done.
The bottom line is, where did we start to build our strength when they got here? Not saying that the balance isn't.
I'm agreeing with you, bro.
I know you are. I'm saying that everybody is right, but I'm emphasizing why they started this off this way and why we are on track to be able to do what I think we're going to do right out of the gates. Is the fact that they built out this defense and got the pieces, the cornerstones. They filled this thing. They filled in the blanks there first, because in football as it is, the first thing you need to be able to do is stop people from getting in the end zone. You got to be able to stop people from scoring on you, and you got to be able to take the ball away and give your offense extra cracks at the ball. And they've done that. And so it just so happened that we were able to. I mean, when I say the stars, the moon, the sun, everything is in alignment. Some of the luck that we've had to get the pieces that we have, get in the position to draft the pieces that we have. I mean, it is, you couldn't dream this shit up better.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm saying to you guys is they've taken that route to building a perennial contender every year, every time. And we've got the quarterback to boot now. So everything that everybody's saying is correct, but I just don't want everybody to get so, I love what Caleb Williams brings to the table, but I don't want people to lose sight of the fact that we've got a defense that's going to give him opportunities to be a winner. That's why we're going to be competitive this year. That's why he's making moves for Matthew Judon. That's why he's doing that shit.
And you know what? No, Nomad, just to that point, like I've always repeated this phrase, it's easier to tear something down than it is to build it up. Like if a team doesn't have a functioning offense, the defense's job is that much easier, right? Like you don't like it's so much easier to shut something down that doesn't even work to begin with. Whereas to have a consistent offense, like guys, the gap between the top quarterbacks in this league and the rest of them, although we say like tier 1 and tier 2, it's like tier 1 and tier 10. Like when you're that good, I mean, I've seen Aaron Rodgers put up 50 points in a playoff game. Defense didn't matter against the Cardinals and Kurt Warner that day. It didn't matter because Rodgers was just that good and on fire. And one thing always stuck out to me. I remember one game where, man, I got so furious. It was the first game of the season against the Packers. And I can't remember which year this is, but they came out first play of the game and Rodgers tries like a 60-yard bomb over one of our corners' heads because they studied something on tape throughout the offseason. And they go, no, look at how he plays this and how he plays this. And they had him. They just missed the throw. Like the corner reacted exactly how they thought he was going to. And they had a wide open receiver running down the field and he just missed the throw. But I was so pissed because I was like, man, that says something. Like that's a spit in your face. Like we got you guys, period. If they're doing this at the start of the game, what do they have in their pocket for the end of the game? Right. So really from an offense, all you need to do is be clutch. That's why you were showing those stats earlier and numbers are great and everything like that. But listen, if those 1,500 yards from Trent Dilfer came at the right time, in the right moments,
3rd and 12.
That's all it takes. That's all it takes as long as you have the other pieces there, right? So yes, this is currently Nomad for sure, a defensive heavy team. And like I said, once it's time to pay Caleb, hopefully either A, he is that good and can put it all on his shoulders and can lead it and is worth the money, because you look at like what Patrick Mahomes even took a decent little pay cut. But I mean, there's guys out there getting paid that aren't doing it and they're sucking up their team's cap and it's putting these teams in a bad situation. Really bad situation. You know what I mean?
4
David
years from now, I
Jones.
don't give a damn what they do 4 years from now. I'm talking about today. 4
So,
years from now, whatever money he gets, hopefully he's smart enough to know that, you have to make some sacrifices for your team and you can get hella money away from the field and you don't need to stick it to the organization and get everything you want out of it. If you want to be what he says he wants to be, and that's beat Tom Brady in the amount of Super Bowls that he has, you're going to have to make sacrifices in that way.
Then right now, I just want him to be clutch. And that's one of the things I really liked about the second preseason game. Whereas we saw Justin Fields get off to hot starts in the second quarter, and then fade away towards the end of the games. This kid, towards the last 2 drives, started turning it on and showing it up when it mattered more. If that's the case, Nomad, what you're saying, then all I want from this offense is to be clutch and perform at the right moments and let the rest of the team do what they got to do.
To kind of piggyback what you're saying, Polsky, is we also got an offensive coordinator that's not calling plays from the kiddie table. So, you the finger could be pointed at Justin and Getsy, and you're going to be right. But hopefully with Waldron calling plays and with the talent that what little bit we've seen of Caleb, I think it isn't just going to be the first 15 plays of the game and then the rest just turns to shit. I think it's going to be more consistent, and there may be games where, they do win it in the fourth quarter. There may be games that it could be over with by halftime. Because this team is so balanced. And that's the beauty thing to me. The first, 10 games is very winnable. But say the first 6 or 7, you're counting on your defense. By then, Caleb has had a half a season. You got 2 Pro Bowl wide receivers, an ascending tight end, another good tight end. It maybe don't have to rely on the defense.
Right, but I kind of agree with what Nomad's saying. It's like I feel like if you have to rely on the offense, especially in the first half of the season, I think that there's a problem there. Because this team currently is built through the defense for sure.
Well, yeah.
We spent an hour talking about. I'm just trying to breathe new life into the Bears fans and the people that support this community, man, because I do see a lot of, I see a lot of shaky sometimes, and it ain't always in our community. I see it everywhere on social media. It's just like you said, Paul. It's a lot of PTSD going on, and people use history as a present reference. And history is history. It's to be left behind. You know what I mean? And for me, that's the way I live my life, and I don't care what happened yesterday. I see today and what can happen moving forward. And so we're going to get more into that conversation, but you guys came here to talk about some of the stuff in that game and what we can look forward to. And I came away, I'll just start here, kids. I'm going to pass it to you. I came away looking at that game feeling really good about our offensive line depth. For starters, let's just talk about the offensive line depth. I felt really good about the Tyree Carters of the world, your Pryors, your just the pieces that we have. And I think I would just say this is about as far as I'm willing to go. And this is all you need, really. We have an above average depth at offensive line. I would just say that. I'm starting to feel that way towards these guys. And that's probably the best compliment I can give them right now is to say that they're above average. I don't know how much you guys looked at that, but that's what I came away with. We have above average offensive line depth, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, I can't argue with that statement at all. Braxton Jones, the bull rush concern still exists. Nomad, you know what I mean? I know you gave him a lot of love there yesterday. The bull rush concern still exists. It's all good though. You know what I mean? Like as a left tackle, he's still pretty solid, but he has that item to work on for sure. He'll get better. Larry Borum as a swing is solid as a swing. I'm sure Karan will be solid when he gets back. No real questions on the other side. The other side looks good. And then you get into the guard situation. I kind of like all of the guards, to be honest with you. Bill Murray, I like him. Like even Nate Davis played decently, except he let up a snap. A sack. He did let that sack go by. And since I'm talking about it, shout out to Caleb Williams for saying it was his fault. Shout out to you for making a friend out there. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I look at it, and just sort of taking the onus and what have you. But if we're talking about the O-line, I like the depth at guard. We're not seeing any of the missed detail case scenario where the snaps are funky and weird. We're not seeing that. The center position seems to be okay, guys. Any bobbled snaps? Anybody see any bobbled snaps? There have been bobbled snaps in this MF for about 4 to 5 years. I'm just being frank here. Like there has been.
That's part of it. Structurally, we're not the team that's making mistakes. We're not the team that's missing assignments. We're executing our blocking plans. You're not seeing a bunch of guys bumping into each other and blocking each other and snafus and getting penalties and all that kind of stuff. For
None
guys
of
that, when you play in the game, and you're out there and people that coach this stuff, they know that that's the stuff that hurts you. All that stuff that keeps you behind in the game if you're constantly shooting yourself in the foot. Structurally, we're fine. These guys are executing blocking plans. They're helping each other. It's really, really refreshing to see. And Derek Carter just made a point that I made on Twitter. Let me pull that back up. Let me see that. Derek Carter said, I'm seeing that our QB helps the line with his pocket presence. And, everybody that's a Justin Fields fan, which I am, I'm going to always, like Justin Fields and support him, but he's not a Bear anymore. But to make that point that Derek Carter just made, he said, I'm seeing that our QB helps the line with his pocket presence. That's kids, Paul and Brian. If I had to give this guy the ultimate praise and give him something that I could never give Justin Fields, it would be that. It's the fact that he's able to have that kind of pocket presence and be able to manipulate it in a way that favors his offensive line and himself. And to say all that, I mean to say that he's going to give them opportunities, to really, really shine. And if he gets that ball out on time and he gets those extra, whirls around that pocket and knows when to get in and get out of there, that helps the offensive line. And so as far as that goes, he's a leg up compared to who Justin was as a quarterback in this offense, man. I've just got to admit that. There's no getting around that. He's a much better pocket quarterback, and his presence there is elevated compared to Justin's. No question about that. And that's going to be a big, huge help.
Nomad, we saw that last year. Because Justin was getting sacked 3 to 5 times a game. And in fact, he's doubled the pace that Andrew Luck was on. And Andrew Luck only survived 7 years. So I was questioning, hey, even if it clicks in his head, can he survive this long term? Because this is bad, man. This is bad. 3 to 5 a game is a lot. He's been one of the top sack quarterbacks for 2 years in a row. When Tyson Bagent went in there, we saw 5 sacks in 4.5 games. So it drastically improved. And this is an undrafted rookie free agent who can just get rid of the ball quick, right? It's just a completely different play style, and it definitely helped the offensive line improve. Now, one thing I've definitely seen is that Nate Davis, it's more than that sack, Keds. Do you remember that play? It's the third drive, second down. It's 2nd and 3, and Khalil Herbert just gets stuffed.
Yeah, that was all his fault.
Nate Davis missed his guy.
As that play ends, they got up and
so for me, it's
goes over to Nate and pats him on the butt and was like, bro.
Right, exactly. So for me, preseason is not so much about the good, it's more about the bad. If you're sitting there making mistakes in preseason, you're not it only gets harder from here, right? So it's weird because I was at that Buffalo Bills game, Justin Fields' first start preseason, where he almost got decapitated, and that should have been a red flag. No wonder
turn this into a piss on Justin.
No. And I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that's a bad thing. Look at that. It happened to continue, right? So when I look at preseason, I tend to focus more on the mistakes guys make than the positive stuff. Listen, that Caleb hype, everything, those throws, cool, nice, fun, awesome. But Nate Davis not being able to block guys in preseason, to me, is a real issue. And I find that consistency in the line is huge. I think that his leash is way too short to be doing this. But I mean, what are you going to expect from a guy who hasn't practiced, right? So
I only saw one serious. He got an inside spin move on him.
I saw a couple plays that I didn't like. I felt 2 serious plays, but a couple plays that I didn't like. But real quick, just with the center position, that's probably our biggest upgrade. I mean, we've been suffering from that for 2-3 years now. And so we've been saying that even if that can change and now the quarterback play style can change, and like you guys were saying, I had a personal conversation with my co-host, David, and he just told me the other day, he goes, you understand that there's some quarterbacks out there that just won't get sacked. He's sure, Patrick Mahomes gets sacked, but how often is it? It's some guys just won't do it. They'll throw the ball away. They'll get rid of the ball. Brady's a great example. Left tackle gives up his pressure. He'll just throw it at the ground. Let's live to play 2nd and 10 instead of 2nd and 15 with me being knocked out. So that also helps these guys get paid. These sacks go on the linemen. When they go on the linemen, they get less money and worse contracts. They appreciate the quarterback. That helps get less stats on the stat sheet because at the end of the day, that's how they make their money, man.
What I'm trying to get at something here, and it's, Nate Davis he's been out of camp and out of live action for a couple of weeks at least. He wasn't going to come back and be Nate Davis, Pro Bowl Nate Davis.
Oh no,
he was gonna hold on, man.
No, I'm not gonna hold on. I'm
man.
not holding on.
I just get tired of that shit every fucking time.
I know you do, and I'm tired of you backing him.
Tired of that shit.
And you know why I'm tired of you backing him? Because
he had one.
That is
play.
the expectation now. If you've missed camp up to now, the expectation is you're getting on the field and you're going to play like you've been.
Yeah, do you know why he missed? Do you know why he missed?
It doesn't matter why he missed.
Nomad, you said you don't care about yesterday. You said you don't care about yesterday. What is he doing today?
Does anybody know what his fucking injury status was? No.
Doesn't matter what his injury status was. It's his job that's on the line. The expectation is that he's going to go out.
We have to do this every time his goddamn name comes up.
He's expected to go out there and be.
We have to do this every single time his name comes up.
That's the expectation.
It drags the fucking show every time his name comes up, dude.
You opened that can, man. I told you I was going to chug it. I told you I was going to chug it. I told you I was going to chug it.
We're talking about the offensive line's depth.
I love you, man.
I didn't even mention Nate Davis.
That's my issue. Personally, that's my issue. I
like what
I'm seeing from the offensive line.
Tangent every fucking time.
Don't like what I'm seeing from Nate Davis, man.
You can't. I know you're pro player, but if you can't be critical,
I did the same thing with Chase Claypool. Like I did it with Chase Claypool. I'm done with this guy. Back up.
I don't know what to tell you.
Listen, when you're doing a podcast, we were talking about the offensive line depth. The minute I bring up the offensive line, his mind goes to Nate Davis. And I
didn't bring him back. Bro, you brought him back.
I didn't say shit about Nate Davis.
Yeah, you did.
Yes, I love you. No, I didn't. Paul did.
Yeah, and Paul finished talking, and then you went back in to talk about Nate Davis. I didn't say nothing. I'm now back here saying
I watched
that.
all of his snaps, and all I saw was one when he got spin moved on the inside. He might have missed.
Yeah, you missed the Khalil Herbert run that you thought was on Khalil, and Khalil needed to make another juke. When we were watching it, that was Nate. Nate missed the wham. He missed.
All right,
he missed the wham.
Go ahead and get it out of you, man. I submit. Get it out of you.
I'm just telling you now.
I got it out.
The expectation is this. So check it out. The expectation is this. If you're injured or you're hurt or you're not injured or you're hurt, you're going to go out there and play the game the way you're being paid. Period. Every man to a man. That's the expectation. If you can't go out there and do it on a regular, consistent basis when given the opportunity, you can't just say, "Oh, well."
I want to hear Brian. I want to hear Brian's opinion.
I'm just happy. Agree with me.
I'm happy with the offensive depth that they have. That if a player is for some reason injured or whatever, they don't miss a beat. I think it's this team is the perfect storm with being balanced, quarterback being able to read the defense, quick release, having an offensive coordinator that knows the difference between shit and apple butter. I'm high hopes for the team. As far as Nate Davis, he signed play.
I'm just worried that this guy's going to basically waste the first 7 games of this season trying to get into Nate Davis shape when that's what he's supposed to be doing right now. The rest of the team is, why isn't he?
Redo it all's point. Just read it out loud. If you don't mind reading it. Hold on. Just let him read that out loud first, right quick. Redo it all's point. Please, if you don't mind.
Why you got to find the one thing?
I didn't find anything.
Okay, I'll read it.
Very unrealistic. That is not reality to return from an injury and be 100% as soon as they come back. That's super fair unless you're injured every single time you come back from injury and you're coming back from injury. And
so just to
again, from
piggyback
injury.
off that, just like Chase Claypool, when I saw him doing stuff off season, and I was like, listen, I'm a critique it. I'm gonna speak my mind because I'd rather have you focus on football. However, if you come out there during the regular season and you have a career year, I will shut my damn mouth and I will love me some Chase Claypool. Same thing with Nate Davis. Listen, this is a concern in preseason. If he comes out during the regular season and plays well, I will shut my damn mouth, say I was wrong, that my concerns were invalid, and he is good to go, which is what I hope happens.
Me
Right?
too.
Like,
Me too,
right,
Paul.
so-
Like I'm exactly the same.
And
Here's the
that's where
thing.
I'm at.
Here's the thing, gentlemen. What we were talking about was depth, and the fact that we have some qualified depth.
That's what I
And,
brought up.
and
I
which
think
is
he
which
is
is
that.
why
You
which is
know.
why talking about Nate Davis for the next 20, 30 minutes don't make no fucking sense because we
No,
got
it does make it actually does
I
make
just
sense.
all
wanted
just
to
get
talk
along.
about the depth. We have some really good depth, and that's a positive thing going into the season. I didn't
It
want to talk about Nate. Every time we talk about offensive line, we do this, man, and I'm getting a little
He's on
tired.
the offensive line. Like, stop dodging it.
The
He's
first
on the
opportunity
offensive
that
line.
depth will
It's gonna
get will
take
be at
30
And
right
the
minutes.
guard.
depth,
That's why I dodge it.
the depth, like the positivity in the depth, is that we don't really have to rely on that. If he's an issue or if there's an issue, what we're seeing right now is cohesion on that offensive line with or without Nate Davis, and that's a freaking beautiful thing, right? Like, that's really nice to see, even if he's missing a wham here and letting a sack go by. Again, I don't expect Nate Davis to be in Nate Davis form until week 7. That's just me.
Why week 7?
Because he wasn't in Nate Davis form until week 7 last season. Like, literally for that reason, because that's what I saw. You a minute ago, you said you don't look at history and stuff. I am a human being. I like life moves in one direction. So all I can judge life by is by my experiences, the things that happened before. That's history. So what I saw last year was the guy got into Nate Davis shape in week 7 and started to have a decent season after that.
Kids, here's the beautiful thing. The fact that we have some nice qualified offensive line that makes Nate Davis a little bit less relevant than
Obsolete, doesn't it? It's
That's
so
what
true.
I was getting at.
Yeah.
That's what I was getting at, but I was never able to get it out because as soon as you guys heard offensive line, your mind went directly to Nate Davis and fucked it all up.
Come on now.
Fucked it all up. We got some really good depth.
We do.
Really good
We do.
depth, especially at guard.
Like,
I
Matt
think
Pryor-
Nate
Matt
Davis
Pryor's
might
quick.
be that depth.
As far as tackle goes, maybe not as much, but guard, I feel really good about the interior of the offensive line. I'll tell you another person that stood out is Doug Kramer is a lot stronger than he was when he came into this league. I know he saw, and what's good about it was the team.
That'll come in handy pushing those
team-
carts at Walmart.
Go ahead, Brian.
It's just
Doug Kramer hadn't showed anything.
All right, I give up, man. I'm fine. Everybody want to be an asshole tonight.
Nomad, I appreciate you,
Not
man.
just
I'm
tonight,
sorry.
every night.
I meant to just talk about the offensive line in a general. And that's why I mentioned the center position. And, you know, to me, that position is my biggest concern on the line. So that's why I figured I'd mention it. If you want me to tell you the good things about the offensive line, is that
There's a lot
one,
of-
Tevin Jenkins is still a monster.
Yeah.
Still has a motor. I hope that kid stays healthy. And I would love for his injury concerns to go away. And you know, however,
say again, Paul.
Tevin Jenkins, 76 left guard. Man, that kid's got such a
Knock
motor.
on wood, man.
Yeah, for sure. Knock on wood. And it's like, you know, like I said, I don't put many highlights together on offensive linemen, but that kid produces some highlights, man. After the whistle, listen, there's a pile. I remember Eddie Jackson would like stop short of the pile all the time. But Tevin Jenkins would come in there, 3 guys, 4 guys, just bam, after the whistle, everything. He is just running into people, pushing people out of bounds, playing through the whistle, motor like a mother. You know, so I'm very excited with him. Like you said, Keds, Braxton Jones is still, there's some issue with the bull rush. However, like we said, if the quarterback is good enough to be able to make something out of that play still, or at least negate the play, at least just chuck it down at the ground and live to play another day, then those, you know, few and far between issues with Braxton Jones are manageable. You can manage them and get over them. Like, these are all things that are very correctable and very, capable of being overcome.
If you guys don't mind, hold on 1 second. Let me speak to Derek Carter. Derek said Nomad is pro player, but you have to be critical, bro. Yes, absolutely. I am critical. But you see, when I do podcasts, man, with these guys, I love my guys. Kids is my bro. Just because you hear us yelling and cussing and carrying on don't mean we ain't no love there. It's there. I'm trying to go somewhere. And every time I bring up offensive line, it's just like I gotta deal with that every time because he's overly concerned about Nate Davis. Not that I'm not overly concerned about.
It's an issue. It's an issue.
It's this reason why I layered that conversation. I knew we were gonna get there. I layered the conversation and started that conversation with the fact that we have some really nice looking depth, especially at the interior. So that I knew I was trying to buffer that conversation about Nate Davis. But as soon as he heard offensive line, I'm just trying to stop a train wreck, man, because it's going to take 30 minutes for that shit to be over, and we got a lot of shit to get to. Like the fact that I'm going to put this right back up right quick. The fact Black Rain just said that I didn't know this, and I heard that it was going to happen, but Black Rain 7920 just said the Bears just activated rookie Kieran Amagaji. I hope he's absolutely right, and I'm going to take your word for it, because we definitely need that. We definitely need that, because to me, if I had to find a weakness in our O-line depth, it's definitely tackle. Right. I mean, what's his name? Larry Borum. He looked pretty decent. But we're talking about a swing tackle. The guy's going to go side to side. And I don't know that Larry Borum is your guy. If I had to pinpoint a weakness, it would be the tackle.
He's your guy. He's proved. Like, here's the thing.
Not if you find another one.
I'm just saying, he's proven. If there's anything Larry Borum has proven, is that he's a quality swing tackle in the NFL. Is he a starting tackle on either side in the NFL? Probably not.
Did you guys hear the Saints were interested in Borum?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know about that account. What about that account though?
I don't know about that either. I just saw one post of it, so maybe you're right.
He's solid. There's nothing wrong with Larry Borum except for the potential price tag associated with him this season. That's the only negative thing I have to say about him. Right? We've seen him play. He ain't, Braxton is definitely an upgrade from him, and so is right on the other side. Like there's no questions there. But I will give the man his due. Having a little bit of additional depth there really speaks to their ability to potentially trade Larry Borum if they have the opportunity to do so and make their way out of that contract. Now, to flip it back to something Nomad was saying earlier on, Ryan Poles might be in win now mode, guys. Right, that's something that he was trying to allude to. The Judon potential acquisition, and I've said this before myself, is if we see Ryan Poles in the free agent market for the left tackle, it's because the left edge rusher. It's because he believes they can go. It's that time.
Trademarking more than anything else. I don't know if there's a free agent out there that's better than Larry Borum.
You're right. No, you're right in the trade market. That's definitely what they would have to do.
Can I ask you, Nomad, a question?
Yeah.
What's the easiest way to implode an offense?
To implode an offense? Have the offensive line unsettled.
Yep, 100%. And you know why? Because clutch moment, everybody needs to be on their game. You got the quarterback making a miracle play. You got the wide receiver making a miracle catch. Everybody's happy. Everybody cheers. And we've suffered through this because a flag is thrown. Offensive holding. Try that shit again 10 yards back. And so none of this matters if the offensive line doesn't play at least average, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, and I think we're there. I think the offensive line has gotten to a point where we are at least average.
Yeah, that's why I went there first, is because we've had a lot of unsettled offensive line play in the last couple of years since Poles has gotten here. And, he's heralded as this offensive line guru. So is his assistant GM. They were brought here, with that in mind, because we had a terrible offensive line before they got here. And he was supposed to settle that. And I'm starting to see that little bit of settle going on and the consistency of that offensive line. You got to give what's that offensive line coach's name, man? But
Chris,
whoever
Chris Morgan.
Chris Morgan.
Chris Morgan has done a hell of a job with those guys, man. Those guys look sound. Those guys look like everything reads to me like, okay, we're in a solid situation. We're not like a Philadelphia Eagles, San Francisco 49er dominant offensive line yet in all phases, but we're in the, I would just say we're in the neighborhood of a couple of pieces here and there to get yourself established in that neighborhood.
So I guess the reason why it's a conversation even is because typically most teams do it the opposite way. They build from the inside out because you get sure of that offensive line and then you add the pieces. Whereas we've kind of done something unorthodox here and built from the outside in. And therefore that does create a little bit of concern and worry because it is a little unorthodox and weird. And it's typically not the way. But listen, I hear you. At the end of the day, go out there and do it. As long as you go out there and do it, I'm good, man. I'm good.
If they are any ways looking unsettled, I wouldn't be as boisterous as I am about being optimistic about this season, because you can look at that kind of stuff. It doesn't take one of these NFL film gurus to be able to break the stuff down, and you can see this shit's pretty obvious. Number one, they'd be jumping all over the place. They'd be missing assignments left and right. There'd be no continuity whatsoever. You can tell when a guy is out of position and he's struggling. And that kind of thing you can see pretty clearly. You don't have to be this nuanced football guy to know that kind of stuff. You can look at that right on his face and tell if it's solid or not. What I'm saying to you guys is, for the first time in the last few years since Poles has been here, I'm seeing settled, solid play in the depth, offensive line.
One more thing, and then I'm going to shut up for a little bit. What stuck out to me is Tevin Jenkins' comments, where he said, last year under Getsy, there were some gray areas. Mm-hmm. This year, things seem a little bit more defined at every step. Because we took a quarterback's coach for Aaron Rodgers, who probably doesn't even need a quarterback's coach, and promoted him to have way more responsibility than he's ever had in his life. And of course, there's some gray areas on the offensive line. We got wide receivers next to each other running the same routes. Like there was a lot of sloppiness. The guy's never done it before. Shane Waldron might be making a huge difference for us, just based off the fact that he brings experience to the table as NFL offensive coordinator.
I just need this season to hurry up and we need to get to the Super Bowl so Caleb Williams could be the first rookie to win a Super Bowl against Aaron Rodgers at the Jets and beat him. I need that to happen immediately, like yesterday, because imagine we decided to hire the guy's quarterback, like the guy who's been a quarterback for 4 or 5 years. Hey, you're promoted to quarterback coach. That's the guy we hired for OC.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't think he needed a quarterback coach, guys. He'd been to the Super Bowl as a quarterback already at that point. But anyways, I don't know. That's who we got. That's who we hired. And now we got a whole new guy. And I'm not sure if it's Chris Morgan who deserves the props, or if it's Shane Waldron who deserves the props, or it's Matt Eberflus who deserves the props. But what we're definitely seeing now is somebody's paying attention to the details. The little small things, bro. As far as offense is concerned, somebody's saying, hey, why is this ball on the ground? No. This snap can't be, it's not, you're not skipping stones. It's a snap. Somebody's in there having that conversation this time around. And that conversation ain't been being had for quite some time, because I don't know how we walked into last season with Cody Whitehair as the center, knowing his issues with snaps, went forward, watched the snaps happen, and kind of continued until it was like, hey, this is completely unacceptable. Somebody needs to be switched in. And, now that's a work in progress through the season. Right now, we're not seeing any evidence of that at all. We're actually seeing an offensive line that's working in cohesion, right down to the second and third level guards. And that's a beautiful thing.
Kids, here's a nugget that I had going into the off season. There are a couple of guys that were in my crosshairs as far as who I thought would be targeted to be removed and replaced. And the offensive line coach, Chris Morgan, was one of them, because it was that bad. the offensive coordinator, of course. You know, those two individuals in particular, I thought that was the most egregious in the Chicago Bears team, and the fact that Chris Morgan was able to keep his job, and it was probably a heart-to-heart conversation between Poles, Flus. They all got in a room together, like, look, I think you're a damn good offensive line coach. We're gonna get you some more pieces, but this offensive line needs to get settled. These guys need to be better at what they do, executing these plays. We're gonna bring in an offensive coordinator excuse me, that's more capable of getting our skill sets in position and getting this offensive line in a settled mode to be able to execute fundamentally. And that's just what wasn't happening. The fundamentals wasn't there. When you've got what was Cody, a 9-year veteran that's out of place all the time, missing assignments, something is really off. Cody Whitehair is not I'm talking about when he's playing guard, not center.
I didn't
Guard.
with him.
Cody Whitehair is a solid guard, man, but he was missing. Something was missing with him last year.
Well, and Nomad, I mean, dude, listen, I'm a big guy, right? I don't like to run. I really don't. Like, these guys are supposed to grab and push, right? And so, like, name me a mobile quarterback that does have an offensive line. Like, these guys are gassed. They're running side to side all damn game. So it's hard to sit there and evaluate, especially like the line coach, when the quarterback play style is so unique and different and you don't have the appropriate type of players necessarily to match that. So that's like, Chris Morgan may not be a bad coach at all.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't want it. We got to keep moving because people want to know particular things. Somebody just asked probably about 5-10 minutes ago, what did we think of Braxton Jones' play? Braxton Jones looks really good so far. And to be really short about that, but in particular, I don't think that he's seen that edge rusher that provides what we think is his weakness. That guy that will really bull rush the shit out of him with straight raw power and put him on a sled back into a quarterback. We haven't seen that edge rusher yet. So in this preseason, I will just say this. Thus far in this preseason, based on the matchups that he's had, Braxton Jones has looked spectacular. He's had his, misplays here and there, and, he's had a couple of little, okay, Braxton, come on, get it together. But not near as many as he's had stellar, absolutely perfect blocking plays on this, especially in his pass sets. So I would just say overall, Braxton Jones has looked excellent. But the challenges that he will face during the season, he hasn't seen a Myles Garrett type yet. But we'll find out when he sees him.
I mean, he's a good average. He's not replaceable. Like, you could replace him. I know there was some talking during this draft, like, do we upgrade at left tackle? Like, that's still a position that can be upgraded. However, it's good enough. And I think Ryan Poles preaches value a lot. So it's like, where we drafted him, what we got him for, what he's costing us, what he's doing. It's fine. There's going to be mistakes here and there. But it's like I said, that's an obstacle that can be overcome. No problem.
Yeah. He's just not seeing the level of competition right now under which you can provide a viable evaluation on Braxton Jones. That's just the reality. No Von Miller out there, no Trey Hendrickson, right? You're not really seeing anything like that. You're not seeing him be challenged. So I'll give he's definitely passed the eye test. There's no questions about that thus far. We'll see what the real season has to say for Braxton Jones. And I'm Nomad, strangely, again, him being the pro player guy, he's a fair amount more down on the Braxton Jones experiment than I am. I think it'll work out, and I think it probably had a lot more to do had a lot more to do with him being a rookie last 2 years, as well as the style of quarterbacking that was happening during those last 2 years. I think he'll fare out just fine. That's
all right. Well, since let's stay in the trenches, man, because let's talk about the defensive front. There's a lot to talk about there. I mean, a lot. I'll just start here. And this is a guy that everybody wanted to know about and we were really hyped about. I'm still hyped about. But there are some guys that really are going to take time to develop if you can keep hold of them. And so let's just start with a guy like Jamry Chroma. I'm just going to start on the outside fringes and work our way in because it's some really good stuff to talk about there. Talk about Jamry Chroma. We were real high on this guy, Paul and Keds and Brian, everybody. James Matt coming from James Madison, he looked like a tweener, and they've only played him on the outside edge. I haven't seen him play tackle yet. And so him on the edge, and we said this though, watching him on film, that we felt like he'd be a better matchup for an interior, like playing D tackle, because he's smaller, he's quicker, and I think he'd have an advantage on the inside with his power. But his power on the edge is not winning battles out there. He's just powerful. And so he's not turning corners, he's getting caught up on blocks, and he's not flashing in the way that you would expect him to flash. And so what I would say before I pass it on to the Canuck is I think we'll be lucky if we can keep him on the practice squad. As of right now, I don't see him making the team. I think if we're lucky, we'll keep him on the practice squad and start developing him into what we think he can be. But I think he's a piece now. I just don't think he's like every defensive line part. Most of the time, like Daniel Hardy, and we're going to talk about him in a second too, he's only in his second year. And so he didn't, he moved around a little bit, and they picked him up late and started to work with him. But, he's only in the second year. Jamry Chroma is a rookie, and I do think it takes a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, for those guys to get really toolsy and know how to really rush the quarterback at that spot. So it's not looking good for Jamry Chroma on tape. I would just say that.
All right. So if I'm supposed to talk about Jamry Chroma, I'm not going to, because I really didn't see all that much from him by way of flash. I'm just being honest with you. Didn't see all that much from him by way of flash. He was out there in his position. The guys I saw much more flash were I saw a little bit more from Randolph further down the line. I saw a little bit more from Hutchins. Is it Hutchins? Is that the name, Hutchins? Yeah.
Well, you could have just passed it to Paul. See if Paul has something.
I'm about to pass it. I was going to say, Paul.
No, I don't have much to say on. Yeah, and I believe, is it Jeremy or is it like Jamry? Jamry. Yeah, I don't have much to say on him. Like I said, I study NFL history a lot. Defensive ends, man, they're rough when it gets to the later rounds, and some of these no-name guys, like, it's always an uphill battle for some of these guys. So, I'm not sure. I was kind of looking more at like the guys that I know will be on the team, like Booker and things like that. So I can't give you any good comment on him.
What I say, Derek Carter? What makes me unbelievable? I mean, I don't know what I said, but so what do you got? Anything on Jamry Chroma? Because we can get on past that, Brian, if you don't have anything.
Oh, the only thing, when I watched tapes when the Bears signed him, to me, he didn't seem like he had the bend that you would want from defensive end. Mm-hmm. I think being a 3-tech, and my whole thing was I would hoping that they could put him on the practice squad and he could be your DeMarcus Russell replacement a year or two down the road.
Well, I think the key word you said there is a really poignant one, because I believe that's the key to what the coaches are probably looking at with Jamry Chroma. Does he have the bend to play edge? And in the NFL right now, they said the same thing about Dominique Robinson. For the first couple 2 or 3 years, he didn't show that bend. And now he's starting to show a little bit of it. And speaking of that, that's what one of the guys at Polls pointed out was Dominique Robinson. And again, he flashed. He didn't have the kind of performance that he had last week, but you start to see him he's there. And he's starting to turn the corner a little bit. That power is starting to really, that extra weight and muscle is starting to really pay dividends for Dominique Robinson. And you're starting to see him involved and flash on your screen around the quarterback, which you did not see previously. And I think Dominique Robinson, I still think that the time spent with Dominique Robinson is worth something to the organization. So for all the people who feel like Dominique Robinson, I was like you guys too, felt like he was on the bubble and he was going to have to show something in order for those guys to keep him. I think he's starting to show enough, and he's getting a mention from from the general manager when he's talking to Adam Amin in the press box, that means he's showing up on his film and he's like, hey, this is starting to, some of the work being done with Dominic Robinson is starting to show up. So I'll shut up and pass it on to Canuck and get his take on it.
Yeah, so he had a decent game yesterday. I'll give him a little bit of love, but again, no sacks, no real numbers to point out as far as statistics are concerned. He got in the in the backfield a fair amount of times, but what Brian and I noticed yesterday, and I have to bring it up and bring it to light, was when he was getting to the background, getting back there, it was because the double team was on the other side. So the upside in that story is that he's potentially good enough to win a one-on-one battle, which is key, right? For his role, the double team's likely going to be on the other side. Can Dom Rob win the one-on-one? Traditionally, he hasn't done well doing so, but he did a pretty decent job this past,
Kids, you know what stood out to me? He's playing a whole lot better with his hands. And I mean, when I say with his hands is when he's at the point of contact and he gets his hand on the offensive lineman, getting that extension and extending him out, pushing him out, and really putting that offensive lineman on his heels and being able to kind of force his will on that lineman to get the kind of angle he wants towards the quarterback like he wants. That's much improved because, usually when you look at Dominique Robinson's tape from last year, once that offensive lineman has his hands, and he usually got his hands on Dominique Robinson's first, it's over. It's over. Dominique Robinson is out of the play. Now Dominique Robinson is beating that guy to the punch, getting extension, and kind of guiding that tackle where he wants him to go. And so that's a huge improvement for him.
So what you're saying is Dominique Robinson has learned a couple things from the rookie. He's learned how to lock out and use
I wouldn't
that.
say the rookie. I'd say Eric Washington.
Oh, well, maybe Eric Washington taught him both, but I see the rookie utilizing that, and he came to camp with it. I also see something else from Dominique Robinson yesterday, and that's motor. My big problem was that, again, when he's so fast, he leverages the speed rush usually. But once he gets to the corner, he's stuck, and he literally stops. And that's the end of the play a lot of the time for Dom Rob. Not yesterday. He was in there. If he got stood up, he kept the feet moving, found another way in, and made a couple of tackles as far as in the run game is concerned. And that's where I think Dom Rob that's where I think he excels. I think in the run game, Dom Rob might actually be a thing. I also think he might be a thing if you're going to get exotic and you might want to drop a guy into coverage. That speed that he has is it could be used well in that situation. Now, they've got an interesting set of cuts to make with this particular position. I really like what Daniel Hardy has brought to the table every single week.
Wait a minute, hold on, because we're gonna stay at Dom Rob. I'm gonna tell you why. And I'm gonna take you to a place that we don't usually talk about here. And I heard Post talking about it. He was mentioning it. And I've been looking at the special teams, the new rules and the kickoff return and all that kind of stuff. I think they're gonna you notice that it's a lot of extra DBs on a normal kickoff or a special team that makes the special team under normal circumstances, the old rules, right? I think now, because there's so close contact and they think you need bigger bodies, an extra tight end has a chance to make it, an extra edge rusher has a chance to make it. I'm just talking about strictly for special teams, and he'd be the last person on the roster to get, a crack at getting in the game at his position. But I think because of the rules, I think you need bigger, stronger bodies for that close contact battle. And I think I'm not saying Dominique Robinson is that low on the depth chart. I'm not. I'm just saying, some of these extra, guys that can make the roster, they can make it in a funny way now because special teams and the type of bodies that you need to be able to execute in that close quarters.
Well, okay. Similar body for both Dom Rob and Daniel Hardy, so I'm not sure. And again, if we're talking about special teams, I've seen Daniel Hardy make a few special teams tackles over the last 3 weeks. I did see a nice special teams tackle from Dom Rob this week as well. So again, by all means, evaluate these guys by what level of special teams value they're bringing to the table. That is an important piece to all of this. I have to admit, but in all reality, for me, I just have to say that Daniel Hardy's ascending right now and challenging where Dominique Robinson should be. I'm also going to say that hopefully everybody noticed Austin Booker playing with the first team yesterday too.
Guys,
Right.
let's see the back of the jersey. Somebody's asking about your jersey.
We're
Is it
No.
Jalen Johnson?
We're just trying to talk about Dominique Robinson.
Damn it.
I'll never be able to cut shorts on these shows, man. I swear to God, unless we have a guest, I'll
No.
never be able to cut shorts because I can't stay on subject. We were just talking about Dominique Robinson. Now we'll talk about Daniel Hardy. Because
but the subject is
That is a
revolves
short.
around the position he's playing, and there's only a set amount of guys playing at that position.
Well,
I can talk about Dom Rob.
well, it goes to I'm about to explain
Just to get
something
the
to
ball.
you, and that I've been trying to say to you guys for the last since we got Eric Washington for the last few months. Pay close attention to the types you're starting to see the types of front, the hybrid front that he wants to play with. So they want to. The plan is, and they're not exactly showing you that in preseason, but I can see the little signatures to what they're going to be trying to do to teams. They're going to play a multiple 4-3 front and a multiple 3-4 front. So it's going to be times when you're going to be thinking you're looking at a 3-4 defense because they have the pieces like a Daniel Hardy. He's one of those guys, and I told you guys, they've got 3 guys on this roster. 3 guys on this roster that's going to help them get more hybrid in that front. Daniel Hardy's one of them. Austin Booker's the other. And I think Dominique Robinson is a strong possibility there. And so what are 3-4 hybrid edge rushers? Guys that can drop back and play coverage. And that's what they didn't have. And so that's how I think Daniel Hardy's going to make this team. And because he's got a relentless motor like a motherfucker. But I think that's how he makes the team. I think they sign certain guys because they have that kind of signature. Daniel Hardy has been amazing in this preseason. I mean, flash after flash after flash after flash. I believe he's the most pleasant surprise so far that's come out of the preseason period.
And Nomad, you're saying you're not going to be able to cut shorts, but I mean, that is the conversation about that position. Like you're looking at 2 guys that got both drafted late in the same year, 2022 5th round pick, 2022 7th round pick. So it's not out of this world to think that one guy can beat out another guy for a position. And we're talking about a rotation piece here at the end of the day, right? So, that is the short. Like, yeah, if Daniel Hardy is showing up, he could take that away from Dominique Robinson. I could see it. And however, the investment is a little more on Dominique, him being a 5th round pick and all, but still, regardless, he'll take the better guy, the guy that's playing better and the better talent. I'm excited to get to the next part of the conversation with Austin Booker, but I'll leave it at that for now. So,
Me too. I'm done talking about Dominique Robinson. That's for sure. I just want to see one of these 3 guys take grab the brass ring and go.
Hold on. Let me get Michael Copeland. What are you saying? Michael Copeland saying you can't play hybrid and not practice it in real game scenario. Dude, there is so many real live situations they can practice on that field and never show you in preseason that it will blow your damn mind. It was so many things that we never showed the public when we practice that we put out there on the game in the game. There's a lot of things that you can absolutely do. Trust me when I tell you.
Mr. Bryan, what are your thoughts on Hardy and Dominique Robinson?
If I had to pick between the 2 of them, I'm going with Hardy. He showed me as much, if not more, than what Don Rob has this is going on 3 years that he's been here. And that was my question last week at a different position. Which do you go with, the guy that you either drafted higher or you signed as a free agent, or a person that's balling week in, week out? I'm taking the person that's more productive. The hell with draft status. The hell with what I've paid in free agency. But I know that's not how it goes.
Well, I think it's important to note that, like Daniel Hardy is a Chicago Bear draftee, right? We did draft him. We drafted him a little bit later than Dom Rob. He sat on the practice squad, but he's made his way back from the practice squad and he's making his impression felt, right? So as much affinity as we may have for Dominique Robinson, I think I think the feeling should be just as it should be the same for Hardy. Hardy's playing he's playing his heart out there, and you can see it every week. So I give him a little bit of love. I expect hopefully the team sees things the same way that I do, but at the same time, depending on what kind of special teams value they're bringing in, you're saying be multiple and drop into coverage. All of those things to me scream Austin Booker already. So I'm really excited. I've seen him do it all. I'm excited to see how that works. And then when we look at the depth with the other two gentlemen, I start to think about the name Jacob Martin, who somebody brought up in the chat a couple minutes ago. And I really hope he gets the opportunity to actually compete for a role on this team. And that's really the best way that I'm going to put that, because I don't know. Everybody says Jacob Martin's a guy. I believe he's a guy. I haven't seen anything, mainly because he's injured right now.
Just look at his tape, and you know what he brings to the tape.
No, I have looked at the tape, and I'm not trying to refute the tape. I'm trying to, just be commonsensical with a 90-man roster coming down, in a couple of weeks. If they've got to make decisions and they haven't had the ability to see him, and all they can rely on is his tape versus what they're seeing on the field, and versus the growth they're seeing on the field week on week on week from a Daniel Hardy or a Dominique Robinson, I don't know how you make that choice.
Well,
you know what I mean?
I believe they've seen enough tape. They've had him in camp long enough, and he absolutely flashed pre-pads, and just it's before you put all your equipment on. Trust me, if that guy's healthy, and they got confidence that whatever he's got going on is something long term, he will make this team, and he will be a factor.
Nomad, could I transition this to the next guy and kind of bounce it off to you a little bit? I want to share an experience.
Go ahead, man.
So, okay, like I said, I study the history of the NFL, right? When you look throughout the history of the NFL, a lot of these defensive ends that pan out and become good, solid players, they are very high draft picks. We're talking about first, second rounders most of the time, right? So there's very few guys that wind up getting drafted late that really wind up panning out, but there are examples out there, right? Jared Allen, I believe, was undrafted, and he wound up being really, really good. And right now in the league, we have like Max Crosby, who is very, very good, and he was drafted in the 4th round. But most of them are drafted pretty, pretty high. So me personally, when even with Austin Booker as a 5th round pick, it's hard for me to get excited about a guy like that. But recently, I was very, very fortunate enough to be able to go to the training camp on Wednesday, on the 15th.
Oh, nice.
And thank you. It was a great experience. Hallis Hall was wonderful. And one thing stood out to me, and it's against and I always play devil advocate with myself. It's against kind of what I'm preaching and what my tendency and beliefs are. There were 3 guys out there that really stood out. Montez Sweat and Dexter and Austin Booker were like head and shoulders above everybody else. And I go, damn, I didn't realize how big Austin Booker is. For that kind of size, that kid is getting some really good angles. And he's producing. So, like, even though I'm not trying to build myself too high on a 5th round draft pick here, what I saw with my own eyes was very impressive from Austin Booker.
Well, hold on before you say that, kid. That leads me into the next panel question I have for you guys, because I'm gonna preface all this with a statement I heard Posby he made in response to a question from Adam Amin when he was in the press box. When Adam Amin pressed him about that move for what's his name right now? I'm thinking
Judon. Yeah,
Matthew Judon. Yep. And he sounded two-sided about it, and he said he felt like, yes, when those opportunities present themselves, we will absolutely go down those roads and open up those doors if they're cracked, and we'll try. But he said either way, whether we get that opportunity or not, we feel really good. And that's when he started making reference to Daniel Hardy and Dominique Robinson's improvement and all that kind of stuff. And so here's my question to you guys. What's your thoughts, kids, after seeing 3 preseason games, seeing the guys that you've seen, and knowing the fact that Ryan Poles has absolutely made a hard press to try to get Matthew Judon? Do you think he should still continue down that road or stay with what we have?
Okay, so I would do the Ryan Poles thing.
Okay,
Right? What's the Ryan Poles thing? It's the thing he did last year. So last year he was in the edge rusher market, found himself a Yannick Ngakoue, realized it wasn't really what he needed to have, and he waited a couple of games until he kind of realized that it wasn't going to materialize from the draft picks that he had. And he went out and he got himself a Montez Sweat. So what I'm really trying to say is I'd wait it out. I got to say it. I have to put it out there. I'm the same guy who's been saying go get a Trey Hendrickson. I'm the same guy who's been saying to get just about everybody who's available out there and fix that left side. I'd wait. I'd wait it out. I think so.
Don't give me Poles' reason. What's your reason?
My reason is because right now we're seeing an edge on the other side that can do all the stuff you need him to do. All of the stuff. Does he have motor? To check. Does he have a bag of tools? Moves? Check.
You're talking about Daniel Hardy, right?
No, I'm talking about Austin Booker. You know
Okay.
what I'm talking about. I'm talking about Austin Booker. He'll drop into coverage. He will play the run. He's got a spin move. He sets the edge well. Tasmanian Devil. I don't have anything negative to say here. I think you have something coming out of nowhere, and I wouldn't suggest that you crush it. And the other portion of all this is really what Nomad just sort of tried to slide in there. You know, Daniel Hardy. Yeah, Daniel Hardy's also starting to ascend, and so is Dominique Robinson. I think the competition has made him better. That's my take on this. I think you let these 3 guys rock and roll and compete against each other for the season.
I guess, but
for 7 games, and then you make a decision.
But if you feel like you're all in on this season, right? Like if you feel like your window's open right now, then defensive end is my biggest concern, right? And it's funny because me and my co-host David were on 2 different ends of this conversation because he brought up this fact, this hypothetical to me. He goes, Micah Parsons. He's like, I'd give up first, second, and third for him and still pay him. And I'm like, no. Ryan Poles is all about value. We're not about to do that, this and that. However, at the end of the day, there are different phases of a team and this and that. Like at some point, you might have to push your chips all in on somebody. But I wouldn't personally want to do it, not for that price, right? And so I think there was a comment from Smitty Q in the chat. Wait till the trade deadline. That's exactly what we did with Montez Sweat. We waited for an opportunity situationally to arise where we could still benefit off of that trade. Like a second for Montez Sweat is a good deal.
Great deal.
Very value, right? But when we're talking about Judon, for example, like Montez Sweat got 12 and a half sacks last year. Judon, I think, was like north of 16, 17.
Damn.
So, and then the year before, I think he was at 14 and a 3rd round pick for that guy. So, like, listen, one thing is very clear here, right? There is opportunity for somebody to benefit from the other end position, right? Montez Sweat is doing his thing. Dexter's looking really good. We got Billings in there. The depth at defensive tackle kind of scares me a little bit, but however, there is an opportunity to eat for a defensive end out there. Will it be Austin Booker? I hope so. But if it's not, that would be the first thing I would want to address during the season, especially if we start off hot as a team. Like if we get some wins during the season, that is the first position I would be looking to address.
Oh, I'm looking at it the other way. So like if there's losses, right? If the first 4 games are shaky affair by way of that position, then I go and I do it before the trade deadline. If those first 4 games are wins and there's no evidence of an issue and Austin Booker, etc., is growing into the role, I'm leaving it alone, right? We'll wait till the end of the trade deadline and give him a couple more weeks a leash and see how that works. Oh, he's getting better. All right, cool. We're rolling through the season with these guys. We got some wins under our belt. We've got a burgeoning pass rusher. And if we don't have a burgeoning pass rusher by week 6, again, you make a phone call to the Cowboys and see what you can do for Michael Parsons.
And I would love for Austin Booker to become depth, right? However, the situation has to be right. And there is, and the thing that the Judon thing told me is at least they have a bar set that they are not willing to cross, a line in the sand drawn. Like at some point we could have offered a second, but no, that's too much. Like a second and pay, like, and they're not willing to do it. And I respect that. So that tells me that they're willing to make a move. However, the move has to be the right move. Right. And, Nomad.
I just wanted to mention something Lula Chat is saying, and also Brian needs to get a 2 cents in here too, man. Lula Chat, and this is something I mentioned on Twitter. And I always say this to different people when every now and again somebody will ask me something and I don't really know how to answer everything. But if I said my response to what would you do if you were posed? And I said that if I'm posed to try to think like a GM, I'm looking at opportunity coming from teams that you don't think will have necessarily have a chance to compete. And so what Lula Chat is saying, she said Raiders may very well be in the toilet by then, talking about the trade deadline, and Max would be a perfect addition in my book. Love that dream, Kenny. That's exactly what I kind of said on Twitter. Was if I were posed and if I were on the outside looking in that, if I had to be a fly in the room, I'm probably starting to look at the Raiders. And why would I say that? Is because now Max Crosby is a luxury piece, just like Khalil Mack was when Poles got here. We could, of course, Khalil Mack's a great player, but what do we need him for when we're rebuilding? We're just paying all this money when we can recoup some assets and really start to get this ball rolling. And so,
Nomad, 2018 doesn't happen without Mac.
Yeah, all that being said,
so he was the one that opened the window for us. Even that
what
year.
I'm saying is, once an organization is at a crucial point where you have no choice but to start rebuilding, that guy talking about Max Crosby becomes a luxury piece, and you need him, but you don't. And so let me listen to some phone calls of some guys that I don't want to get rid of them, but what you offering, man? I might have to take this offer you giving me. So I think that's very realistic, man.
That's what I told my co-host too. Real quick. Last thing. That's what I told my co-host too. Like, we're not the 49ers. We can't afford these luxury. We can't afford to trade a whole draft away for Christian McCaffrey. We can't afford to pick a quarterback, pick 3, and move on from him. Our roster, just top to bottom, is just not there yet. We're still a little bit away from that. So yeah.
So you don't think that we can afford a Max Crosby? Is what you're trying to
say? No. I think Max Crosby would be the perfect addition if that situation pans out. If the Raiders are, not winning games and losing games, like I said, he was a 4th round pick for them. If we could offer them a second and they could still benefit, hey, we spent the 4th, but we're going to get a second in return. Plus, we had this guy for X amount of years, which he helped us create some kind of opportunity. That would be a win in my book. Micah Parsons, drafting like a lot of picks for the guy. No, we're not there yet. We're not able to gamble a big amount yet. It still has to be the right move.
So I'll poop on the.
Hold on.
Sorry, Brian. Let Brian. Yeah. Sorry, Brian.
Go ahead, B.
You always want to make improvements to your team, whatever it is. I mean, right now, today, I don't have a clue who it is that they can get because I don't know who's available. We can rattle names, Parsons, Crosby, all like that. But remember, it takes 2 to make a trade. We got 3 picks in the first 2 rounds next year. If we get a defensive end, a stud defensive end this year, what do we need on defense? Probably not much.
Defensive tackle.
Well, here's my thing about the whole thing. I'm gonna answer this as clear as I can because I think it's a couple ways to look at it, and I'm not gonna try to ride the fence or try not to pick a side. But until I saw Austin Booker in real pro action, I was really one sided about this, and I just felt like, yeah, why would I say you should pay two edge rushers because they're so fucking hard to get. Any edge rusher, I keep saying this over and over on these podcasts. I don't give a damn how high you draft. He's still a if and a possibility until he plays professional football. You don't know how it's going to translate. We were lucky to get Austin Booker, and Austin Booker he is like man, that dude's tenacity is like contagious, man. And until I saw him play, I was like, Ryan Poles, do whatever you can get a young edge rusher because you don't know what you're going to be able to get out of this draft. It's a really talented draft, but you don't know how it's going to translate. NFL people and coaches and GMs, they know that. The motherfuckers are so hard to find. Edge rushers are damn near really good ones. They're damn near impossible to get. And most of them you have to develop. And so that being said, I felt like he should have went 100 miles an hour towards a door, any door that was somewhat open to try to get another edge rusher. Then I saw Austin Booker. And then I was like, whoa, hold up. Any move right now to get a young edge rusher would suppress his growth, in my opinion. And so now I feel 50-50 about it. But it's clear to me that that Ryan Poles was down that road. Is he still down that road post everything he's seen out of Austin Booker? I don't know. But I think if a door opened, I think he'd go through it for the right price. I think he'd do it. And so that's just where I am with it. It's less to do about what I think about it. It's more to do with what he's going to do if the opportunity presents itself.
100%, man. That's why I said it has to be a situational steal kind of deal for us to make it. But as of right now, like I know we were talking about Dominique Robinson, he was a 5th round pick. No, Austin Booker as a 5th round pick, he's got the biggest opportunity on the table here because, like I said, somebody's got to benefit from all this. And if he does, and he does early, then yeah, maybe we don't need to make that move for sure. But look at the Eagles. I mean, they even traded a 4th round pick for Robert Quinn. And even though he didn't do anything for them, even they, as complete of a roster as they were, said, well, if he just makes one play for us in the playoffs, it's worth it, a 4th round pick, right? So there's that too. The playoffs are a whole nother animal, and you can never have enough of those guys. They are such impact players at that position.
Yeah, defensive end. Go ahead, bro.
Between now and the trade deadline, who knows what player is going to be upset or what team is, in the toilet saying, is enough. We're going to, disband this team, or not disband it, but, tear it down.
Well, the Raiders are definitely on that list, right? I think they are on that list. I don't see anything good happening over there this season. I hate to say this out loud. I have said it.
Who are we talking about?
Specifically the Raiders and Max Crosby, and why I don't think they're going to trade him. I see them letting go of a Devontae Adams. They decided to pay him this season. So the penalty for them to let go, it's going to be a pretty stark penalty to let go of a Max Crosby, right? But if we're talking game 7 this season or even next season, it's a pretty stark penalty for them. I think they build around Max Crosby. That's just my 2 cents. But we'll see. I just doubt. I doubt he's the guy that they wind up letting off.
I think they let them both go because you can get significant.
Devontae won't stay. Well, again, my point is to let him go will cost them significantly by way of how fresh Max Crosby's contract is. A little bit less fresh of a contract by way of Devontae Adams. It's been a couple of years. They can probably take a smaller hit to receive some capital.
But Nomad, it's what I was kind of trying to set up earlier with just laying out the whole Russell Wilson situation. If this team's in any kind of position right now, it isn't a position where we're able to spend money and some draft capital on the defense. And like you said, this team is led by the defense. So if there is going to be any move made, I think that's what we're looking at. That's the, you know what I mean, the prism of just concern that we have on this team. Because if we can make that other defensive end a premier position, oh my God, man.
Holy smokes. How do you
Yeah, I
stop
mean,
it?
we're talking about a huge strength as a defense. And like you were saying, Nomad, defenses can take you all the way. And like I was saying, they can spike, man. This would be a hard unit to deal with, period, if that other edge position is set.
Who do you double team on that line? Where do you slide the protection to?
I mean, the guys only need to win one play a game.
You can't slide the protection.
This
You know,
is
so
You can't slide the protection. In fact, it would put us so far over the top. You're talking about complete dominance. You're talking about complete dominance on the defensive
on the
end.
defensive line.
You're talking about complete dominance. And we ain't
Yeah.
talking about. We're talking about absolute game-changing. You can't do shit to our defense in passing situations, known passing situations.
They're coming,
We-
bro.
we
They're
shoot
coming
off
at
the
you.
field. We're playing downhill. We're playing offense to your offense, is what that is. And you talking about, everybody's like, well, we can't pay that we can't pay 2 edge rushers. Bullshit. You got 4 years until you have to pay Caleb big money. You can pay for it. if you
Well,
want.
you can pay him up front. So like it can be done. You can top load that contract and pay a guy now as much as you can. And we're good to go for the next 4 to 6 years, depending on how long you want to sign this thing up for. I'm in.
Nomad, I want to share a quick little story with you. You mentioned Aldo earlier and how he made that graphic for you.
Mhm.
I had Aldo come on with me, and I was just doing little shorts about Bears therapy. Like, give me a moment in your Bears fan history that you just remember that you just want to talk about and get out there, right? And Aldo's point was, he's like, man, I was sure we were going to get Aaron Donald. He's like, and he's like, the Giants were our only worry. And it came up to the Giants pick, and they didn't take them. They took, I forgot whoever. And he's like, the Rams were right before us, but the Rams were set on defensive end. They were fine. He's like, so I was sure this guy's dropping to us. We're going to get Aaron Donald. And the pick right before it's the Rams. What do? They go up there and they go, we pick Aaron Donald. And I forgot which coach. I got to bring up the video and hear exactly what he said. But he said there was a coach out there that said this, that said, take your strength and make it stronger. Doesn't matter sometimes that it's obvious. If these guys can't beat it, they can't beat it. Yurko on ESPN 1000 said one thing. He was a defensive lineman. And he goes, listen, man, the line game, the trenches game, we're playing checkers at first. If I could just dominate you physically, I don't even need to play chess with you.
Yes,
I'll
sir.
just toss you around all game.
Yep.
So if you could take that line and make it into, something that's has to be dealt with this secondary there and these linebackers there. Oh my God, man. You're talking about now you're talking about a roster that's very, very scary, but that's why that's the hole.
Hey, Bearski, you know why? This is a particular. I'm going to speak to this, man, because this is a particularly great time to be a Bears fan for me. Why is because I have experience with both of those systems, whether it be the 4-3 base, cover 2 concepts, whether it be we played on the same team. We had the West Coast, first time I even seen the West Coast offense and its verbiage and everything that comes with it. So I relate to it very well. And as far as a 4-3 goes, the strong concepts that makes that work is absolutely the pass rush. And so you can be really good. You can be good at it, or you can be excellent at it. You can get to those 2 levels, and then you can get absolutely unstoppable. And so what Ryan Poles is trying to do, apparently, they want to get to unstoppable phase, and so that they dictate what happens in games. If you got that strong of a pass rush where you can absolutely not double team Montez Sweat, you got fucking problems.
Yep.
As an offense, you are not going to function quite the way you think you are. Not against that front. Not against that front. I know that for a fact. If you got guys that can get to the quarterback like that on both sides of the ball, you in fucking trouble.
That's exactly what I was saying, though. I don't want to lean on the offense, and my expectations of the offense are all just clutch moments.
So, what if you can't double team anybody on the offense either?
That's
Then
true.
this becomes
We got the
Mokamat's
same
gonna
shit
eat.
going on both sides of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
both
That's why
sides.
this is great,
And
man. That's why this is great.
that's what I'm saying. Both sides. If that's the level that he's able to bring this team to, NFL, be notified. You're definitely on notice in that case scenario. That's all that's missing. If you get the left, problems for everybody else.
It's so fucked up for an offense to have that happen to them. Like me as a DB, if I'm playing corner, I'm sitting back in a 2, a 3, or a 4 in coverage. I'm not even fucking looking at the receiver. I'm not even looking at him. I'm just waiting for the ball. I'm waiting.
Come out.
Yeah, that's
If
it.
the ball comes out sloppy, oh man, it's mine.
Yeah, that's what I mean by playing offense on defense. Now you're really taking it to the offense, and it could be so awful for the other team if we got that other pass rusher, that add the strength to your strength. If we got that other dude, I'm telling you, it's going to be so flagrantly foul to the guys that have to play against this team. I'm telling you, it's going to be a fucking show. I'll tell you that.
Everybody eats the one, like the guys. So we're talking about the effect that has on the secondary. The other monstrous effect that it has is that it creates a hole in the center of that line, and it makes Jervon Dexter into a superstar in the NFL. Like quite literally that simple. Because now you're worried about these two guys on the outside more so than you're worried about the guy screaming up the center. Right? Like, where do you slide the protection to? Everybody eats.
It's a fucking dream scenario for a DB and a linebacker to have that kind of pass rush in front of you. That's what makes a 4-3 concept so great. And playing back into a zone, you can really eat. I mean, you're talking about we'd have 6 or 7 Pro Bowlers between the linebackers and the secondary and the front. Man, we'd have so many Pro Bowlers on this team. We'd look like a fucking locomotive if we had another edge rusher over there on top of Austin Booker.
Brian,
It's crazy how good that can look.
Brian, what do you think? Are we about to see some complimentary football here? What's the opportunity here for another defensive end? Is it worth it going out to make another move?
I'm all for it, and obviously, so was Poles, or he wouldn't try to get Judon. As far as everybody getting reps and all like that, if you remember 2006, everybody wants to link Booker to Mark Anderson because he had the 12 sacks that year. On the defensive end, you had Ogunye, you had Alex Brown, you had Israel Donajay, and then you had Anderson. If you got 4, everybody's going to be able to play. What that does is keep the defense fresh. And if you listen to what Flus has said repeatedly, comes in waves, which means the first string does their part. When the second string comes in, there's not much of a drop off.
Man, I'm telling you, that's almost like I'll tell you, it's like a DB and linebacker's wet dream to have that kind of power coming off the edge and making that kind of havoc. And I just answered your question the best I could, Derek. They didn't. That QB, he's asking why the corner blitz, and that was awesome to see the corner blitz, man, be so effective in that game. But the main reason why it was so effective in that game is because the quarterback was a little underwear and they were a little underprepared, and he didn't slide the protection to help himself out. And, sometimes, if you don't have the protection in the slide, you probably need to call the timeout in that moment. And also the Bears did a really good job at disguising.
I was just going to say they disguised the heck out of it because I don't remember who was on the edge, playing defensive edge at that time, but there's no way the quarterback could see Kyler coming. That guy just sort of, he was just hidden by the edge, came around.
Well, that's where this gets dangerous. Like a couple of years ago, Jaquan Brisker was our leading sacker.
Yeah.
They were blitzing him in because we had no pass rush just due to necessity. But guess what? We know he can do it. You know, Kyler Gordon, his rookie year, he was getting there, but he was just coming up short. Not anymore. He's following through. He's getting those plays. Now, if you're talking about a front four that you have to worry about, yeah, good luck seeing those guys.
Okay, but well, this is
You still got Edmonds.
You can play nickel and dime coverage. You can go
front seven now, right? Front seven.
You can play with two. You can play with two. You can play with Josh.
And their
Blackwell,
quarterback might be
Tyler
Superman,
Gordon.
kids.
You can play with two. You can play with two nickels. You can play with two dimes. I mean, I'm talking about dimes, meaning a couple. You can throw an extra safety out there. You can do all kinds of shit if you can just not have to rush that extra one or two guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is the best team I've had in my fandom, hands down.
Yeah. So
going into a season, for sure, most talented team I've seen.
I agree. Definitely the Bears squad that I'm the most excited about. No questions there. There's so much that can happen.
That's why I'm sorry, Nomad, but like when we talk about stuff, like, okay, that's why I have to pin it down to like Nate Davis. Like, there's not much concern on anything else, and like stuff like that. Like, man, like it's we are in such.
I liked you until like 5 seconds ago. You mother.
Sorry, man, my bad.
Go ahead.
But this is good though, man. This is really good, and it's like, you know, it's more than hype. Because and I've said this before, it feels different. But this year I'm saying, well, it kind of is different. One, because we're benefiting off of a trade that we made. Like Caleb, that's not even our pick. Rome was our pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, so like, even if Caleb doesn't work out, we still didn't really have to give anything up to try that. And so for me, it's like, man, there's so many paths moving forward. We have 10 draft picks next year, guys. 10 draft picks. So like, yeah, I think if there is like we're talking about win now. Listen, I think the window's starting to open, and I think this coaching staff and this organization right now is very smart and very aggressive to where I don't know about being all in, but they definitely realize that there is an opportunity and a chance here. You know what I mean? And we have a lot to work with. We still have money. We still have draft capital. We got a good roster. We got a quarterback that's showing a lot of, man, everything is going the right way. I just like, it's the PTSD that stops me. That's the only thing, Nomad. That's the only thing that really truly stops me.
I'm trying to get that. I'm trying to give that PTSD an ass whipping for you. And this is one thing to notice that really sticks out to me. You get to thinking about Poles' first year, Fluce's first year, and how we were moved around like a motherfucker on the ground because we wasn't big and strong enough. Look at how big and how much more strong this team is now. In just a couple of years, this team has gotten absolute. It's a physical nightmare is what they are on defense. And, you know, talking about on offense too, they've added some pieces there and they're more forceful there too. I mean, so in the trenches, we are more dominant than we were. I'm talking about, it's like night and day compared to what it was when Poles got here and Flu started. It's like night and day. The trenches. The reason why we're 3-0 and the reason why we've been able to dictate games is we've been able to control everything in the trenches. And that's the key to it. And that's, you talking about being giddy, man, dude, it's a whole lot of reasons to be happy about where this team is going. And the chances that we have this year, not next year, not 2 fucking years from now. I'm talking about now. There's a whole lot of reasons to be giddy. The fact that we have a rookie quarterback and a brand new system installed and nobody knows what's coming at them. It'll be 4 or 5 games before teams will have some kind of read on what the Bears can do to them offensively. It'll be about 4 or 5 games before there's enough on tape, before the coaches will have, all right, I know exactly what these guys are going to try to do. We can scheme this up. So the first 4 or 5 games, we got a chance to really run the table.
And then let's just put the cherry on top. Even if we don't run the table, the schedule's so favorable to us. We don't play any division games till the second half of the season. Like that's wild in itself that we have the cushion to fail and still be able to succeed. Whereas like last year, I felt that 0-4 start really kind of killed us. But like this year, yeah, it definitely did. But this year, man, like I don't want to get off to a slow start by any means, but like the way the schedule's set up is so unorthodox, but it's so favorable to us as well. So for everything that's going right, that's even like another thing that was kind of out there that's favorable. Like, man, this is going to be a good year, really good year.
Yeah, the schedule, it's not just a schedule. Like the schedules it's really the cherry on top, but at the same time, in my opinion, I think we're probably in the weakest NFC we've been in a really long time. I've said earlier that I believe the 49ers window is now closed. That's just me. Speaking of one of those defense top heavy teams that got to a Super Bowl with a quarterback that isn't necessarily the greatest thing in the world or was drafted super heavy and there was a lot of stock in him. Brock Purdy's a great quarterback, not taking anything away from him. But again, that's just another example of one of those defensive teams that has made it there. At this present time, they're having a hard time paying everybody. So we'll see if they're able to put together the type of campaign they did this past year. Not to mention that running back position is a painful position to play if you're a guy like Christian McCaffrey. He has been hurt a couple of times. I don't expect him to have that type of endurance throughout an entire season. This season, we'll have to see. But I think Atlanta's going to do well. I think they're going to be a big team. I don't think we play Atlanta at all this year. You know what I mean? We don't see any real playoff teams up until the back half of this season, right? We play the Texans, playoff team. We play the Rams, playoff team. Everybody else, I think, is pretty much fair game. So there's really no reason why they can't go deep or go to the big dance. At this point, to me, it's really down to a couple of simple things. It is just trenches play across the board. Can these guys stay healthy? Quarterback, can he minimize turnovers? Can he minimize turnovers and manage games? Because if he can do those two things, I think he can do all the other things like a lot better than I thought he could, even like that I thought anybody could. You know what I'm saying? Like he's doing some really cool stuff out there. If he can do the simple stuff and not turn over the ball, that defense can carry you a heck of a lot further than any of us might think. If they get the linchpin on the left, oh boy, who do you double team on the defense? Now these guys are just teeing off. So I'm really excited by the season and where these guys are headed, what the trajectory is, what the trajectory looks like for the Chicago Bears. I think we have Superman under center. I'm just waiting. I just need a couple more weeks, guys. A couple more weeks. I need to see it a few more times. I need to get up and scream a few more times because if he is, you're not just in for a great season and for potential competitive play in the NFC and deeper, but I think you might be looking at a balanced dynasty case scenario that's going to go on for the next 4 to 6 years. And that's what I'm waiting for.
You know what, man? We've given these No Maniacs damn near 2.5 hours of coverage.
Yeah, baby.
We still didn't get to everything that I wanted to talk to. And that's okay, man, because you know what we got coming up? We're going to hit them with a few Nomad Lives this week because we haven't done Nomad Live in a few weeks here, man. And we're going to ramp it up a little bit more, give them a few more Nomad Lives, some stuff to talk about because it could be some I think people are going to really want to talk about how much, Caleb should play, if he should play in the last preseason game. Will Ryan Poles go out and make that move that he's basically threatened to do with trying to get Matthew Judon? And, the cut bubble, who's on that bubble? And who do you think should be on that bubble? And who do you think has pretty solidified themselves on this roster? All that stuff is a conversation coming up this week, man. And hopefully we'll be able to give you some more extra coverage. And for all you guys that are in this show and didn't hit that like button, shame on you. I know your mom and your dad raised you better than that. You don't come into an individual's house, not wipe your feet on the floor. Hit the like button if you don't do nothing else. If you have not and you are willing to, subscribe to the channel, man. That either one of those costs you nothing. And if you have the ability and you are willing to become a member, we can surely use your help. We have so many positions to fill over here at the Nomad Network. I'm talking about graphic designers, video editors, talking about people that can manage, some of these, what am I talking about? Sponsorships, people that do all that kind of thing. We could use all those people. We need to put bodies at training camps, at combines, everywhere. We need to have a presence. And how do we do that? We have to pay people. We need to become one of those networks that can pay people. I've proven to you guys that we will do the right thing with your funds. We will do the absolute right thing with any of your funds. And thank you to all the people that became members already. And so we appreciate you. We know that's going to grow. And we just encourage you. It's only $4.99 a month. Help us out in that neighborhood. But before I carry on any further, let me pass it on to the Nut for some pleasantries before we close this out.
Well, great show, great conversation. Shout out to you, Scottish Bear, for holding it down. 4 a.m. The night is young, he says, out there in Scotland, I assume. I have no clue where he really is, for real. But he's a Scottish Bear, and it's very early in the morning. Shout out to you, sir, for holding it down and watching the show with us, hanging out with us, kicking it with us, as you always do on a Sunday night. Cheers to you, and cheers to Smitty Q and Kerry Franklin and Brian Gilmore and Cliff Victoria. Man, for once, Cliff, you didn't make me hungry during the show. I think that's mainly because I was able to get a bite to eat, but it is what it is. FFG Styles out there with us, Dion Buford, the Lunatic. Jeez, man, we got all kinds of folks out there. AC Adam, Derek Carter, chopping it up with Derek a little bit today. Bear Truth 9 was with us. Kenny was with us. Lula Shah. Bearski Film is here with us in the flesh today. What else we got? Man, it was a good show. Cam C, Cornell Bryant, Ron Winarski held it down for a little bit. The other Smitty was with us too. We had a packed house, and I enjoyed it, except for the Nate Davis comments. I think the Nate Davis argument will continue on for the better part of the season, because here's the facts for me. I don't think we're cutting him anyhow. Is what he is, but I also don't think he's going to see the field very often. With that being said, shout out J2K Designs, Superflex Fantasy Football Podcast and League. By all means, you guys join the league, join the free 99 league if you just want to get things figured out and have some fantasy football fun, chop it up with no maniacs, etc. Or put your money where your mouth is. Get yourself a t-shirt at the-nomad-network.com. T-shirts cost $60. That's your buy-in into the league, and you stand to win a fair amount of prizing as you move forward. Big shout-outs go to Mo Fugra for being one of the guys in the league. Shout-out to you, sir. Shout-out to Jim as well. Shout-out to you. Katrina Pullen, shout-out to you because I didn't give you a shout-out earlier on. All that being said, I'm going to pass it on down to my guy, Bearski Film. Bearski?
Yeah, guys, youtube.com/@BearskiFilm. I even had another video I just came out with tonight. I try and come out with content pretty consistently. I'm a workhorse, man. So like whether it's press conferences or highlight videos or hype videos, Like, we got them. We got shorts, videos, we got podcasts. We're starting to kind of tap into the fantasy football thing a little bit. But yeah, for anybody who has not seen my channel, go check it out. youtube.com/@BurskyFilm. And thank you guys so much for having me be a part of tonight's show. Always appreciate the opportunity. Like I said, Nomad, I told you I was going to chug that can of whoop ass. I hope I lived up to that. And I appreciate you so much, man. I love you. Thank you so much for letting me come on and talk with you guys tonight.
Well, thanks for coming, Bearsky. It's always fun, Polly. Mr. B, what do you got to say?
Well, thanks again, No Maniacs, for showing up and dealing with us for a couple of hours. Bearsky, thank you very much. Terrific input. And I second that. If you guys haven't seen his videos, they're wonderful. They'll pump you up where you're ready to suit up and run through a wall. As far as putting everything in the conversations in a nutshell, I trust what Ryan Poles and Flus has done. This is the most balanced team, offense, defense, and being young. I think the PDS will end if we're a winning team and week 11 we beat the shit out of the Green Bay. That's going to be the final thing. I think once that happens, then the people that don't want to say they believe, or the non-believers or whatever, they're going to wake up and realize, hey, there's a shitstorm in the north, and the Bears are taking over. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a wonderful, blessed week. Nomad, your turn.
There's a reason, folks, why I designed that concept on the t-shirt called Football Chicago Style. Just going to say that, and I'm not saying that to try to sell the shirt to you right now, but that concept comes from the heart and the soul of what I believe we are as a football team here in Chicago. It's a certain style. It's a certain feel, a certain look, a certain design that gives us winning teams. And to add to that, and we're talking about defense here, just to be clear, that's where my mind was. Chicago style football is rough, tough, gritty defense first. We just so happen to have an offense to boot with it now. And that's not to be, that's something that we couldn't really claim in my lifetime, that said that we have the potential in terms of adequacy of offense that's comparable to the defense. I know it's young, I know it's new, but I'm telling you, as this thing starts to escalate and this quarterback gets familiar with what he's doing and gets really good at it, and these receivers get really in tune with how he likes to play football, the mushroom cloud is going to be so fucking huge. It is going to be huge. The fact that we'll have an offense to match the caliber of defense that we have in Chicago, nobody in their lives sitting here watching this podcast, listening to it in an audio version, nobody can claim that. We're about to be able to claim that shit. We're about to be able to claim that shit soon. And I'm telling you, there's no reason for none of you guys to be out here pessimistic about this Bears team. I understand the reservation. There's a difference. Reservation is I'm going to hold back and I'm going to wait just a minute. I'm going to wait until I see a few more things, and then I'm going all in. Pessimism is don't let these guys break the heart, because you know what they did to us in the past. I get that, people. But that was yesterday, and ain't shit you can do about that. Not a damn thing. No matter what you want, you cannot rewind time and fix shit. You can't. Don't even try it. But to let that get into your psyche and thinking forward, I think it's a big. I think it's I'm just talking about in life. I think it's a big problem for an individual to let the past get in the way of the future. You can think about it, but don't let that weigh on you. Let it weigh on you. I think it causes problems that you really don't need. Be optimistic. Look forward. Look forward. That's the best way to be in life, because you can't do shit about it. Nothing. And so with that being said, I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. Thank Paul for coming on. He just jumped on here. out of nowhere, and I appreciate him for being here because it was fun talking to him. And people, please understand this about me and the Canuck. I've been with this guy for a year and some change, and I appreciate this guy to no ends, man. I look at him like my brother, man. We communicate often. We talk about deep shit, and we don't always agree on stuff. We fuss, we fight, but he knows it's pure love. At the end of the day, he knows it. I know it. And so don't worry about none of that. We're just talking about football and doing podcasts. We can fuss and fight. That's what brothers do. But don't you try it. Don't you try it. You try to put your hands on him. You try to fight with him. I'm going to jump all over your ass. Just know that. We can do that amongst each other, but don't you try it. But love you guys for being in the show. You made it fun like you always do. That's what No Maniacs do. Rally to the show when it's a hell of a conversation going on. You guys came here and it stayed bumping all night long. And for all the people who didn't agree with everything we had to say, that's just called being human. You don't have to agree with everything we say. You have a different opinion. Good. Bring that to the show. We ain't going to disrespect you. It's not going to be disappointing to anybody. It's just real life, and people have different opinions than yours. I can respect it. I can appreciate it, and I accept all that. But with that being said, I want to say thank you one more time for coming to the show. But we got to get ready to get out of here because we got regular life to do and be looking forward to some Nomad at night this week. But here we go. We got to bounce out. We got to go with these famous words before we go. If you can think it, Bears fans, you can see it, Bears fans, then you can absolutely manifest it, Bears fans. Just let the past get out of your way. Start looking forward and see the future. That being said, we are out. Manifest Super.